So, hello everybody. This is the Hua Fury podcast. It has no name, but we'll call it like Pop Smoke for some now. And this is my friend Brother Shaw, and I'd like to welcome you to him. So, Brother Shaw, what's up, man?
Thank you so much for having me, brother. Pretty hyped to be on the Who Out Fury podcast. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. People who've been wanting this fucking podcast for I don't know, maybe 5 years, you have Brother Shaw to thank because he I don't know, he inspires me with lots of great ideas that has high ROI, because I don't like to do fucking shit for no reason and people be like, why the fuck is Fury making this shit again? I don't give a fuck. But Shaw had a cool idea that since we've been like smoking so much fucking cigars and I have my own private cigar lounge, Shaw thought we're gonna pop some fucking smoke while me interviewing him. So Shaw, what are you smoking today, man?
Um, yeah, so I'm smoking the Hoya de Nicaragua Silver. I don't know if anybody can see that, I guess, but I think it's a Corona, right? That's a Corona size.
I think it's
a box
Toro.
cut.
It's a Toro.
Toro?
Yeah. Is it
You're the expert.
The box
I think
cut?
so, yeah.
It's
square,
I've had that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, I got it on your recommendation. I went down to the place in my city, and I was like, "Do you have the Hoya Silver?" My friend recommended it. I have to have it. So, yeah, this is because you recommended it.
Yeah, that place in the city, you say they overpriced you a little bit, so you decided to go with Farm Roll. What's the story about it? What's that?
Yeah, so like I only really started like legit smoking cigars maybe 3 or 4 months ago. So I'm kind of like figuring out which is the premium shit, which is the lower tier shit, how much should everything cost so I don't get ripped off.
Yeah.
And so I was in Hungary for a while, and I couldn't really understand, like, because like the currency is so inflated. It's like 4,000 forints is like 10 euros.
Yeah.
So I was there and like I didn't really know what I was paying for cigar. I was just buying cigars and like hoping that I wasn't getting scammed or whatever. So when I came here, I seen how much more expensive the same cigars were versus in Hungary. Yeah. I was like, right, what the fuck? I'm definitely getting ripped off. So then our mutual friend recommended the Privada Cigar Club, and I got the farm because the regular cigar club was sold out. Mm-hmm. So I got the farm rolled one, which is the one without the labels on it.
Yeah.
And it's like $20 for 4 like legit premium cigars.
That's fucking good.
I had the first one. I had the first one last night, and it was really strong. Like it was a Churchill. It was like this big. And it's probably the strongest cigar I've ever had. Like I had like a full nicotine rush, like super,
Yeah, those are the cigars I like actually. Because for me, today actually, I have a milder cigar. I'm going to give like a little thought process for the viewers what the cigar is about. In the sense that when I'm alone, like totally alone in my fucking garden or near the water or a special place, I like to smoke a new cigar that I've never had. So I can meditate on the flavors, the combustion, the draw, whatever, and make some notes for my friends and like the Casa de Fury, the digital lounge. But when I'm with another person, I just want to enjoy with the other person. So I smoke a cigar that I've already smoked before. Then I can fucking forget like, oh, this note, blah, blah, blah is happening, this happening.
Yeah.
And just fucking enjoy the cigar. So I knew Brother Shaw was also going to smoke a Joya de Nicaragua. So I also going to smoke one.
Nice.
And this is like, very nice. This is a Classico line, meaning this is basically, so back in the Cuba crisis, there was like an embargo on the Cuban cigars. The legend goes that John F. Kennedy bought all the fucking Cuban cigars in like a 50-mile district before signing out that decree. And then no Cuban smokes were allowed anymore in the US. So other companies started to, try to gain monopoly. And Joya de Nicaragua had cigars from Nicaragua. And so they took over a little bit, and their budget lines, I call it like a budget line, because this one, for example, is €5.60. That means like $7 or something. And it's like a fucking long ass cigar I already know what it's gonna taste like, fucking good quality. And it's gonna last fucking long. especially for this fucking podcast. So let's pop some fucking smoke, Shaw.
Let's do it. Let's do it, brother. Let's fucking do it. Yeah. By the way, speaking of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. That's the thing with cigar lounges. There's always Winston Churchill or, you know, a prominent figure. You know, that's fucking cool, man.
Or, yeah, Churchill, Kennedy, Castro, maybe. That is good. So what's your philosophy between for lighting it? Do you toast first like this? Do you put it straight in the mouth?
Oh yeah, you go ahead. Toast yours up first, and I'm gonna how do you say, have a special surprise for the viewers.
Oh, okay. Oh, you've got the lightsaber, have you?
No, I don't have a lightsaber. I have something else. It's like a cool little thing. Let's see if it works today. I'm just watching you enjoy that fucking toasting, man. I like watching other people do it. It's very like
see if their technique's right.
No, not like that. It's like those those SMR clips on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Sounds. When I see somebody toast up, it's very, I don't know, very soothing to me. Like somebody else is enjoying the ritual as well, you know.
I'm still not like sophisticated enough to taste, like to pick out the different notes and things.
Yeah. You have to try out that training palette a training template palette that I put in like the group. You have to look up what the flavors in the cigars are, then taste those foods individually, and then when you smoke the cigar, you can spot them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was smoking the Farmer one last night, and the Privatic comes with the leaflet. Yeah. It describes all the notes, and I actually was able to pick out some of the notes that they say, but I couldn't have done it without that sheet.
It's fine. I think after give or take, I don't know, I would say like if you do this with intent, on a consistent base, with purposeful practice, after 10 cigars, you will start to note it. Like, for example, I drink a lot of black pepper. This is gonna sound strange for the audience, but I drink a lot of black pepper, and apparently a lot of cigars have black pepper in them. So at one point, I was drinking my fucking tea with black pepper, yes, and so I was like, why does this tea taste like my fucking cigar from the other day? And then I thought, oh fuck, this is it, this is the level, so yeah.
So what's the thought process behind putting the black pepper in your tea? Is it like an immunity thing, or?
So there's this meme that you should take turmeric or curcuma. It's good for your health. I've been doing this since I don't know, before I came on Twitter, I think maybe 5 years now, but the bioavailability of turmeric is very low. There are these charts that say it's very hard to take up in your bloodstream, so you have to add ginger and or black pepper. And what black pepper is, it has a molecule called pepperine. Very apt.
Very original.
And if you put this in anything, it will increase the absorption of said nutrient. So that fact, coupled with that you apparently also burn fat faster with black pepper, I put it in almost anything. I don't give a fuck, So that's the story about that.
Awesome. I used to drink teas with turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon in it.
Yeah.
And that was like my morning concoction.
Yeah.
And I went off it after a while because the thing is with like taking all these things is like you can almost never like notice the effect.
I know.
You kind of just have to trust it. You kind of have to be like, okay, I trust that it's working.
You have to do like an elimination diet, or what they call like an elimination diet. Cut everything out and then introduce these things one by one and see what the effect is. Like, for example, I had trouble sleeping. So a common one is take magnesium pills. I had trouble sleeping, so I popped 2 magnesium pills. I slept, bam, holy fuck. The sleep quality and sleep quantity like skyrocketed for me. So I'm on that shit always, Yeah. And I know if I don't take those fucking magnesium pills, I'm gonna like fucking suffer again. I don't want to go back. So these are these things you can slowly integrate. If somebody says take Viagra and your dick gets harder, you take it and your dick doesn't get harder. Yeah,
Yeah, I was taking the. Let me ask you a question about this, because I was taking the. In fact, I still take them, zinc and magnesium, like in one.
Yeah, the
ZMA. One pill. It's
ZMA.
ZMA, exactly, and it makes my dreams absolutely crazy. My dreams are insane, like super, like lifelike. Yeah. Like super lifelike, the kind of ones that make you like wake up in the middle of the night. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That happened for you just on the magnesium?
Yeah. So in Twitter, it's very popular to recommend supplements. And there's this guy, Nick Lowry. He's a BJJ dude from Denver, Colorado. This is not sponsoring him, but he has his own coffee brand. And he said, yo, careful, Fury, you're going to get wild-ass dreams. And the whole comment, nobody knows why. I haven't read the science up on it, but everybody's like, yeah, you're going to get fucking wild-ass dreams, man. And now, for me, this is beyond the scope of this fucking podcast, but I will say this. Like, in esoteric knowledge, they say dreams hold information to your subconscious, your past, your present, your future. It just gives information.
Yeah.
And for me, if I have fucking wild-ass dreams, I enjoy it. Why? Because beside my bed, I have a dream journal. It's there. So I wake up, write it down. And this information is something in the pattern recognition device in my brain, maybe it's nothing, but it will lead to something. I don't know, like, for example, I can share this. Like, there's this popular Twitter account. His name is El Lobo Salvaje. Lobo, they call him. One time I had a dream that I was talking to a wolf, and this wolf said, hey man, where are you now? We're gonna meet up so and so. He was DMing with me, and I was like, hey Lobo, but you live in like Miami. What the fuck are you doing here or something, And then like a couple of days later, I was on the timeline or something, and then he said, Fury is one of the dudes I'm gonna fucking meet up. And then I was like, oh yeah. Then I said to him, yeah, I actually dreamt about this, And these are these little, I can't explain it. Something is happening, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
I actually totally agree with that. I haven't had anything so like descriptive where I dream about a certain situation or about another person and then it happening. But I've had dreams where I'll dream like maybe a part of my town is like changing. Someone like repainted their shop front or something, or like some like detail about like my environment changes. Like, look, it just looks different. I'll have that dream, and then 2 days later, it'll happen. And I'm like, and I've experienced that at least 4 or 5 times in my life. And I'm like, oh shit. So it makes you think. This is like a deep, maybe super off topic, but it makes you think. Like, our dreams, like, can we read the future or whatever?
I don't know what it is, but we'll get to that in, I just say, point 11. We have like a surprise for the guests. How you like edited like your interview on a fucking cliffhanger, and you were like, Fury, I don't know if that's supposed to go in the interview, but maybe we'll touch upon that again. About the cigar, like what I want to share with you and the audience. So I was doing research on lighting, and I saw this like a 3-minute video about how a guy was lighting his cigar with matches.
Oh yeah.
He called it like the 3 match technique. So you asked me if I have like a ritual. This is like one technique where you don't cut the end and toast the cigar first with actually 3 long matches. You toast it while you talk very slowly, and then you cut it, and then you draw, and then it goes on. It's like a cool little thing that you can do if the wind is like, in your favor and shit like that. So we can just do the fucking podcast while fucking light up. And yeah.
Awesome. I think I've seen that video as well on YouTube. Yeah, the big
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it was the big like long cigar matches, I think.
Yeah.
And he lit up.
So the first question that's of the interview is, if you would gift any book, what book would you gift? But you said you've never gifted books before. But you but you did have like very cool book recommendations for the audience. And the first one was The 4-Hour Workweek. Can you explain a little bit why that was the catalyst for you to venture off on your own and not play it safe like other quote unquote normies would do? Can you touch upon that a little bit, Sean?
So I was actually, when I read that, I was kind of bummed out that I couldn't think of any like super deep, off-piece book, like some fucking, I don't know, Japanese like Bushido book or some shit like that, or like some like philosophy book or whatever. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to say the 4-Hour Workweek. But I read that book maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was off the back of, I was doing like a bit of traveling, right? And like as every like student does, they do a lot of traveling, and like, oh fuck, this is all I want to do. I just want to travel.
How old were you then? 18-ish? 18?
Yeah, I think I was 18. And so I was doing traveling. Like every student, they're like, oh fuck, I just want to travel. I want to be like a backpacker, blah blah blah. But I also had like a money hit. I didn't want to be broke. Yeah. Like I still wanted money. So I was like, right, well, how am I going to combine the two things? I had no idea. I had no idea anything related to online business, literally nothing. And I just started Googling, and I found the 4-Hour Workweek book. And basically, Tim Ferriss describes the exact situation that I wanted to have at that time.
Yeah.
He described how he was able to like have these mini retirements, like travel the world, and also set himself up in a way where he had income flows, he had his online businesses, he had all these other things. I can't even remember half of the book at this point, but that was the main takeaway.
Okay.
That he was able to set up his life in that way, and that kind of made me think, oh shit, so this kind of thing is actually possible, and there's resources out there on how to do it. And so I just started going down the rabbit hole and exploring a lot of the topics that he talked about, and a lot of like the he talks about getting virtual assistants to basically run your entire life, and he talks about how he used these VAs to take care of all his appointment setting, all his booking, all like everything he had taken care of him for him. And that's a little bit down the road, I guess, but it kind of opened my eyes as to what is actually possible in like these days. Like you don't need like a shop front or whatever to make like have a business to make money. Okay. You literally just need your laptop, and you're able to go wherever you want.
Yeah.
And the reason why that book's so important is because it started me like on the path to sort of where I am now.
It was just a trigger. Like it shifted your perspective, so to say. I have a friend, Eddie, he loves to say a book gives you like a big idea, and then you think, oh fuck, this is possible. So it was something like that for you,
Yeah, this cigar will not stay lit.
You have to have, how do you say, a good drawing technique. You have to a little bit have it in your mouth, man. You have to keep it in your mouth.
Yeah, I gotta puff it for longer. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm fucking
toasting. Let me just get a little quick relayer.
I think the audience will love how like we're fucking like two dudes trying to fucking light our fucking cigars. So, but
two fucking noobs.
Yeah, two fucking noobs. But when you were 18, you and I know a little bit about what degree you have. But when you were 18, can you tell a little bit where you were in your academic career? Did you were you done studying, or can you tell us a little bit where you were at in your point of life?
Yeah, I was in university. I was studying structural engineering, and it's just a very like, and I used to think like that was like my goal, and it was my goal to get into like a good construction, like international construction consultancy, work my way up, maybe use that as an opportunity to work in like the Middle East, Australia, like all over the world kind of thing. And that was what I thought my path was. Mm-hmm. And then as I got further through my degree, I was like, okay, this is, it's not really what I want to do. Like, and I knew that before I even started working a little bit in the industry.
Yeah. You felt that?
So,
did you feel it in your gut and you couldn't explain it, or you concretized the thought and you knew it, like you saw it, or?
Like the material that I was learning just wasn't like getting, it wasn't getting me hyped up. It wasn't like, you feel this feeling like right here, like, oh, I'm excited, like this is what I want to do kind of thing.
Yeah.
It never gave me that, but I always had the thought in my head, like, okay, like I know that like the theory of university isn't the same as what you actually do in like the industry. It's like, it's never the same. Like once you get into the industry, you're like, oh fuck, like I have to do this whole brand new thing. I never even got taught it in like university or whatever. Yeah. So I was like holding out. I was like, okay, well, let me just like see what the industry's like. Maybe it's, more enjoyable than the theory that I'm learning now. Maybe the actual practical stuff is better. And then I got in the industry and it was I confirmed to myself what I already knew, and I was like, right, I need to get out of here.
Yeah. So funny thing for the audience, apparently Shaw and me share almost exactly the same background / degree, because for the audience, I'm also a structural engineer. A lot of people they always DM me, Fury, how do you make your money? Where you come from? Usually these days, I'm trying to become more and more of like a digital ghost / ninja. But for the audience, it was too cool not to share. Like me and Shaw had basically, I don't know, maybe for him it clicked faster. In the sense that he got a job quicker than me. I mean, like younger, and yeah, so he went working and he read the 4 Hour Work Week, and now he's doing drop shipping. His name is Dropship Shaw. So that wasn't in my head, but I had that same feeling that Shaw had, and I just want to go fucking places, become like a fucking drifter, fucking ninja, samurai, fucking legend or some shit. I still have those aspirations, but I'm trying to concretize it more, monetize it more, as Shaw just explained.
Yeah, because there's a fine line between wanting to be like this international like man of mystery, and then also like the practical side of things where like like any fucking backpacker can like piss off to Thailand with like 2 or 3K in their pocket and be like this enigma kind of guy or whatever. But it's not like that's not cool. That's actually not cool, because they're just like because I did that for a little while, and I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't as cool as people make it out to be.
No.
You want to pair it with both. You want to be able to like travel and do all these things, but you don't want to be like on a fucking $10 a day budget, trying to eat super cheap food all the time and staying in cheap ass hostels. You actually want to have like a luxury quality life, with goals and like adding something of value and like building something cool and meeting a lot of cool people who are the same as you.
You want to be in those places, and while you're fucking sleeping, you're making money for your next big event on that fucking trip. You're like there, you wake up, you check your phone, I made some fucking money. That's what you, and for most people, we're not going to touch too much upon that. We're going to not fucking coach you, check our fucking feed or ask other people for how to do that. But that is the goal, and people do it. It's not fake, Shaw has done it, I do it in a way, so yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that, pardon me, it's something that seems maybe very like unattainable for a while. Like you're thinking, like, how the fuck can you, make money while you sleep? But it is very doable. It's a matter of just finding a medium that produces, how to describe it? Finding an audience that is hungry for something or needs a service or needs a product or whatever, and systemizing it in a way that it works without your input all the time. And then you literally go to sleep, and you can wake up and you see an email that's come in that's saying you made X amount of money while you were sleeping, and you're like, sweet. Now I just got to do it over and over and over.
Yeah, I noticed that in your lexicon just now. You said systemizing. That's something that, I don't know, you touch upon later in the interview, that you and I have done like a written format. And maybe we can touch upon that later, like, because you say, don't just hustle. Yeah, that's later, like 8 or something. But so that's for now, like the 4 Hour Work Week. Something that I want to touch upon is, you, for the audience, Shaw was a huge fantasy geek. He read Lord of the Rings. I've never read those thick things. If you throw it at somebody, that person dies. He read those things.
Yeah.
Can you tell us why you don't read those books anymore? But can you tell us why the imagination of those worlds led you to the Shaw that you are right now?
So I read them when I was like a kid, like in my, before I was a teenager, and then in my early teen years. And I think it was the edition that is, maybe my mom had it or my older brother had it back in the day. And I read it. I just picked it up one day. I read the first one, the Fellowship. And the reason I think I loved it was because, like, as a kid, like a lot of kids have like these really deep like imaginations, and like these kind of books just like feed it. Mm-hmm. It makes you think there's like, a super deep history. It reads like a history book almost. You're like, oh shit, there's like all this backstory, all this.
As if it's real, right?
Yeah, exactly. but it's like real life, but times 10. And you hear all these, like, you know, you read all the crazy stories and the whatever that happens in the book.
Okay.
So I read all those, and I think that kind of developed my, like, how do I say it? Like, it expanded my imagination so that when I'm an adult, I can now think about these, like, grand visions for my life and what I would want, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't read fantasy anymore. I stopped that a long time ago. I prefer to read fiction now, or sorry, nonfiction. And but I feel like that has still transferred over, and now I can think, oh, all right, let me think about what my perfect life looks like, and then let me use my fucking great imagination to figure out how the fuck I can do it, you know, and how I can make it happen.
Yeah. So so during this podcast, we talked about Lobo, how the dreams or like visions in your mind can like manifest into reality. We don't want to make it too floaty, but so I was listening to a podcast of him, and he had like this theory that kids like you, and I think he had it, and me as well, who could imagine really well when they're young, coupled with a skill set and action, what you did, can really create, larger than life stories in real life. I think you're one of them, because that's why I wanted to zoom in on this, because I saw like a dude, no, like a kid Shaw, but like imagination. But you have this grown-up Shaw who is now like, he's a man, he has skill sets, you know, determination and will. He really like went for it, you know. And kids these days are a little bit different because they're fucking tied to their fucking phone, and they don't have this magical power, so to say, you know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of like, my generation, like, sort of on like the tail end of I was like the transition between the analog age and the digital age, you know? Mm-hmm. So when I was like the youngest, like it was when the first like PlayStation 1 came out, you know? Like when I was really young. Like,
did you play Crash Bandicoot? Crash Bandicoot.
Of course, brother. Of course I had Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
That was a classic game. And, but it wasn't like there wasn't any mobile phones, like there wasn't really any, there's dial-up internet, which is shit. Like you couldn't really like get addicted to like digital stuff, you know, and you couldn't have, it was really hard to find like a digital thing sort of, you know, feed you these scenarios. Like you had to read a book to get like given like to build your imagination or whatever. You had to read a book to
get that fucking
to get that hit. Yeah. Whereas now it's like you can literally, you know, you can jump on fucking COD, or you can jump on like some video game or whatever, and you can get the same hit, and you don't have to put any effort because the game or whatever gives it to you. You know, you don't have to read it and like think about it. You know.
Yeah, I think tying to that, what you said, you have to put in effort when you were a kid. For me as well. When I was younger, I wanted to be a Spartan because I read those books. And yeah, these days, sometimes I have fucking long hair, shit like that. I have some Spartan elements to my lifestyle. But what's funny, this effort that you had to do, how do you say this? Like from when you're a baby, when you're just born till you're 7 years old, your brain is very malleable. So the brain has a lot of brain waves. You have alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and theta. But theta are the brain waves when you're sleeping. And sometimes you hear these things, you have to listen to audio tapes while you're sleeping to reprogram your mind. That is the brainwave you want to hit. And I think, it's just a theory, I haven't read the studies, don't quote me on this, but I think when you're younger, you're training yourself with these habits, these processes in your brain to visualize a future, a story, and really set up this, reality in this world. You're training yourself basically. What kids these days are, how do you say, they're not training, you know? They're just indulging. They're not practicing anything. You know?
Consuming, just consuming.
Not creating, So that's something I just want to talk about a little bit.
But then also you see like guys like my age and a little bit younger, like maybe they're in the 18 to like 21 range or whatever. Yeah. These guys are like these TikTok stars or whatever, you know, like Instagram stars, like they still, you can still capitalize on it, you know? It's like, there are still people out there that even though that they've grown up exclusively with like social media and like games and shit, like they still capitalize and they can still make something. But I think that for like the vast majority of people, there's going to be way less of those people. They're going to be even more like diamonds in the rough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, 100. This ties, in my opinion, nicely to Shaw's third book, *Sapiens*, that he recommended from Yuval Noah Harari. It's an exquisite book. I've heard. I haven't read it, but can you touch upon why you said it took away your worries or something like that? Your perspective of the human mind changed. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a mainstream book now. I think I read it when it first came out, but I feel like a lot of people read it. But basically, the premise of the entire book is the guy basically describes how human beings were able to become the most dominant species on Earth, right? And basically, they're able to do that because they can work flexibly in large numbers. So if you look at, it's the only creature that can do that. So you can look at, say, like a hive of bees, right? They can work in massive large numbers, but they can't work flexibly. There's only one way of doing things. They can't abolish the queen and set up like a new democratic system or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also, you can look at on the other side where you look at like packs of chimps, and they can work very flexibly, but they can't do it in large numbers because they'll attack each other and they'll kill each other. But humans can do both. And that's why they've been able to basically succeed as much as they can. But the reason why humans are able to do that is because we're able to believe, we're able to create and believe like fictions, right?
The stories that we're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and these fictions are like money and governments and countries and everything. It's like everything that we create in our minds, because objectively in reality none of these things like exist. They're just in our heads, right?
Yeah.
So he basically describes how those things like are used to control behavior.
Okay.
Like people are able to work in large numbers flexibly because these things that humans created and we believe that they are real, they control us. So I see like people, they get so invested in like politics, they get so invested in, all these different things that are basically not real. And all of their life worries are based around these things that don't even exist. So once you understand that, it's like, oh shit, well, why do I care? Like, why should I care? I need to totally forget about all these things, not pay any attention to them, and focus on what I want to do, and only get stressed out about things that are maybe in my own life or something, like challenges that I'm personally like trying to face, rather than what the fuck the president of the United States said, or whatever happens, whatever bullshit is happening externally. But once you realize that these things are created to like control people, then you can forget about them and you worry less and you don't find like any interest in them, and they don't stress you out. And, so that's what that book, that's what I took away from that book.
I 100% feel you. It's especially very topical in this day of age, because people listening to this recording like maybe a couple years from now, this is during the second lockdown, second wave of the COVID era in 2020. Especially during this time, I have friends who you would like say they're top performers or something, and even they are getting stressed the fuck out what the fucking Illuminati or the government are doing to them. But you can't control these things, and especially during these times, it's very important to control your own narrative. And that's something I love how you like describe that for yourself, how you just try to make your own story,
It's a very good book. It's definitely worth reading. It was used as like a political weapon against Barack Obama back in the last like elections, because he was saying about how much of a like Christian he was or whatever, and then he quoted *Sapiens* as being like his favorite book of all time. It's like the book itself is heavily like atheistic, like. I
know what you mean. That people create narratives such as religions, and then it's made up.
So everyone was like calling. That was like one of the political weapons against him. It was kind of funny to see.
Yeah, we're not gonna go into politics. That's not my strong suit. But thanks for sharing.
Me neither.
Yeah. But so you stopped reading fantasy novels, and you just said you read more nonfiction, and just now you told us a little bit about *Sapiens* and *Lord of the Rings* and the 4-Hour Workweek. But you said to me your favorite purchase under the $100 was a Kindle, right?
Yep.
So what's on your digital nightstand right now? What are you reading right now?
I'm reading this book called The $1 Billion Whale.
Yeah.
I read it?
No, you quoted it in the interview. It's fucking epic.
Oh yeah. So I'm reading that right now, and it's pretty awesome. It's a true story about this Malaysian business guy. He came from like a low tier rich family, just like, millionaires, like not like double digit millionaires, but like low tier millionaires.
Wait,
in Malaysia.
Is this the guy who fucked Miranda Kerr?
Supposedly, yeah.
Go on. Yeah.
Pretty amazing. But yeah, basically this guy from like a very young age, his dad wanted to maneuver him in society, sent him to all these top tier English boarding schools, like, I think it was Harrow or something. And he basically got him to infiltrate into like elite of society. And he did it just by being like a huge like people pleaser. Like he would blow all his money on hosting these huge parties and giving gifts and using all that stuff to maneuver into elite circles.
Okay.
And before he had ever done his first ever business deal, he had, I don't want to spoil like the book or whatever, but he'd infiltrated like the Middle Eastern royalty and stuff like that, and like the high political levels of like Malaysia, right? Before
like
he'd ever done his first. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But Jeffrey Epstein was actually making money that whole time, but this guy had not made a single cent before, but he had still maneuvered into all these circles. And he leveraged all of his connections into basically stealing like a shit ton of money, like billions of dollars.
Okay. So
just did that by maneuvering.
That's fucking awesome. So what's the trajectory? How many years did he invest into position himself in that spot before he monetized in these billions? How long did it take him?
Like 4 or 5 years.
That's a cool trajectory.
He was like, he was in, he went to like boarding school, which is like high school, and he started meeting all the people. And then he went to university in America, I think, and he met more people. By the time he was like 25 or 26, he basically stole like $1 billion or something.
That's fucking epic. That's crazy. Yeah, because a lot of people these days, they love to talk about networking. And I can't disclose too much, but I also have a friend. Maybe one day I'll have him on the podcast as well if he wants to disclose himself. But he talks about these specific tactics as well. He's always very kind and friendly. And I said to him, like, why are you always like this? Then he said, kindness is unsettling, like, because he always has this fucking $1 million smile. But in the meantime, he plays 4D chess, what he calls. He doesn't play chess. He's not that good at chess, but he plays these games that you're talking about. And he's saying to me as well, Fury, go to a fucking cigar lounge, go to a fucking airport and close fucking $1 million deals. And I'm like, yo, dude, I don't have that, but he said, just do it, just do it. So it's very interesting, man. Yeah. Fucking crazy.
Yeah. Like you can really get yourself far by simply just being good at socializing. You don't even need that many good skills. Like you can literally just know the right person. And it's funny how it works. Like the most progress I've ever made is because I met a certain person, and they open the door. And then you're like, oh, you have more access to all these different things.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. A lot of things that you talk about are very, very Shaw-like, and they come back. And this is the point that you made about when you're in a good mood and making new habits, you get more luckier. I wanted to touch upon that later.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. We're like foreshadowing a little bit,
Yeah.
So for the cigar freaks, what I was eating the whole time is like dark chocolate. This is 99% dark chocolate. And I learned this from a video or something. There was this guy always eating a fucking chocolate with his fucking Cohiba cigars. And I was like, why is he doing that? Then he said it's to clean the palate, cleanse it. And then when you take a new puff of the cigar, it's as if you're tasting the cigar, the first draw, So like a tip for the cigar smokers who are watching this, they think like, so fucking cool. And I'm pairing it with
Sorry, I was going to say I've never had the 99% stuff. You're pairing it with espresso or something?
Yeah, I'm pairing it with like just a coffee, black coffee. I never drink coffee, but I wanted to have my full mental faculty, all the nootropics to talk with the nootropic man, right? Yeah.
Popping modafinils and Adderalls and.
I've actually never done modafinil, actually.
It's it's good, but it can be dangerous if you don't like respect its like power, because it can totally fuck up your sleep. Like, I mean, that's what it's for. It's for narcoleptic people. That's what they prescribe it for.
Yeah.
Narcoleptics. So if you're always falling asleep and you can't stay awake, they give you modafinil. I think they do it for Adderall as well. It keeps you awake. But if you do it too much, the half-life of modafinil is like 18 or 19 hours.
Yeah.
So if you take it past like 9 a.m., it's still in your system by like 3 a.m. or something, you know? Mm-hmm. So if you take it too late, it's like you're never going to get sleep. If you do it too regularly, it totally messes you up. So you need to respect it if you ever were going to do it. Speak to your doctor.
How do you say? I've done some stuff. You know, I've taken some stuff. We'll get to that later as well. You know, but but modafinil, I'm keeping it for like a big project that I have to like go in like all in. One day for the book fans here, I want to pull a Jack Kerouac. So legend goes, he wrote On the Road, his novel, in one scroll. He just sat down for like 6 days or 60 hours or something, and he took Benzedrine or something like that. And he was like fucking typing. And he also made very punctuation errors, spelling errors. He didn't give a fuck. He was just fucking typing this story in one sitting. And me as a novelist, and people always ask me about writing rituals. One day I'm gonna go full all in this fucking state, write, I don't know, the next great American novel. At least my biggest story. I'm not there yet. I know I have the chops. You know, I know how writing works. I can maneuver the commas and the periods, manipulate stories, shit like that. But I think I don't have the story yet. You know, I'm not there yet. You know, with the Man of Mystery shit, you know, all these fucking adventures. I know I have it in me, but I'm definitely gonna like modafinil or armodafinil or whatever, you know.
Yeah, well, some of the best books are written over like years and years and years, you know.
Yeah.
Some of the most famous books. So you got plenty of time, and that would be cool.
Something about the topic of networking, I think interesting for the audience is Porfirio Rubirosa as well. He was just a broke Dominican boy, and he rose through the ranks also by socializing. He didn't have anything except like $1 million smile, and he was very attentive. Like, what did they say? A cigar or a cigarette never went unlighted in his presence. You know, he was one of those cool guys. You know, even if you're a guy or whatever, he treated you with respect. Maybe it was a mind game, but he made you feel as if you were $1 million. You know. And it's interesting for people to read up on him as well. You know, people ask, how do I become a G, or, you know, like this $1 million whale dude? That's very recommended reading as well. Yeah. So we're going to transition, maybe a rough transition with the next question. So you had like a biggest failure. Can you tell the audience what your biggest failure was? The e-com story, you know? Can you touch upon?
Yeah. It was whenever I first started sort of delving into e-commerce, and as everybody knows, like, you make most of your money in Q4. Like 70% of your money you make in Q4.
Oh, this quarter.
Yeah, this quarter we're currently in. People make most money in this quarter because, you know, Christmas and all that shit. So like I was gearing up for that, and I was like, you know, it was like delayed gratification. You know, I was like, I know if I can get to Q4, I'm gonna be rich as fuck. For whatever reason, for whatever reason, my e-commerce store got banned. I won't go into it because it's all like boring details, but it got banned. It got shut down before like the payday kind of thing, you know. And to me, it was literally like someone snatched away like just this pile of money. Like it was sitting there ready for me to take it, and then for whatever reason, it just got taken away. And I was like, fuck. Because that was like my big build up, you know, and I was so like dejected for like weeks and weeks. You know, I was so like pissed off. But
can you disclose for the audience how big a figure this was? This payday.
Like six figure profit, I guess.
Yeah.
Low six figure profit. But at the same, like that was like one of my first years like doing e-commerce. So, you know, that's an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
And still is, of course. But yeah, like I was dejected, right? But you know, the only thing you can really do is just like get up and just keep going. Like I didn't really know at that stage. I didn't know if it was going to get better. because that was the first time anything of that magnitude had ever happened. So I was like, fuck, I just got to blindly keep going and see how it turns out.
How old were you then?
19, 20, something like that, I think.
See, like, I'm trying to emphasize the story of you, man, because when I was 19, I was watching fucking anime or some shit, you know? I'm very honest with those things, but kids these days, they want shit in 5 minutes, you know? I'm telling you, there are people out there hustling, but putting in the work, and putting in the work means also failing, you know? You were fucking 19, you did something, you overcame it, and now you're fucking here, you know?
Yeah. And that's what, and like once you, and there's been a couple more failures like since then, nothing is like massive, but you realize once you go through a few failures, it's like cycles. You know, it moves like this. You know, you have these big peaks and then you have a fucking setback and you go down and then you build up again. And once you see that pattern happening over and over, once a big failure like that happens, it's like, okay, this is part of the cycle. This is that cycle that happens every now and then. So now I just got to regroup, reassess, figure out what went wrong, learn from it, make sure it doesn't happen again, and then start building towards the next up.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it anyway.
I like that about your mind. I think a little bit is attributed to that you're an engineer, because what you just described, you have a very logical thought process. I think the things they taught us in school, they gave us what I call like a systematic approach, you know, to like, for example, for us, like I was a structural engineer who made bridges and buildings. It's not per se how are you going to do the calculations, but the client comes to you with a problem, and the problem has like these parameters, and you can't just like attack problem number 5 if you don't solve problem number 1. You need a system or a systematic approach. And it's really cool to see how your mindset, your systematic mindset, one, like enables you to tackle your business, like your drop shipping and stuff like that, but also for the audience, like they also want actionable advice, how to, like an analogy, how to overcome failures in life. And I think it's important to understand that life is cycles indeed, and you have to have some failures, some notches on your belt to have like basically the humility and the confidence to keep going forward, I think, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like you hear this, like any like super successful person, they always say the same thing, but it's like everything in life is one of those things where you have to experience it firsthand to actually understand it.
Yes.
That's why like reading a lot of like, you know, nonfiction books or whatever, like they tell you like what to do, but it doesn't resonate until you experience it firsthand.
It doesn't click.
For whatever, it just doesn't click. And you don't, you know, if someone says to you, oh fuck, I don't know, if they tell you to do something and you just keep it in your mind, but you're like, let me risk it anyway. Let me see, like, you know, let me just do it anyway. And then the bad thing that they warned you about happens. Like it's like touching, you know, it's like a kid, you know, your mom says, don't touch like the heater or the fire, you're going to burn your hand. But the kid's like, oh, let me touch it anyway. And then they burn their hand. They're like, oh fuck, now I know not to do it again, you know? So you have to actually experience these things firsthand to actually build the connections and learn from these experiences, you know? And that's with everything, like from very minor things all the way up to like huge, like life defining moments or whatever.
Yeah, 100, man. My dad has this saying. He says it in Dutch, actually. It doesn't translate that cool in English, but it's basically a person who doesn't want to listen, who doesn't want to hear, has to feel it for himself. And I quote him always when somebody doesn't want to A, listen to me, B, doesn't want to improve, and is like stuck or something. I'm like, life is going to teach you by yourself, man. You're going to feel it.
Yeah.
Life is going to do something. Like we talked earlier about the analogy of the chessboard. You're always a piece on the chessboard, or you're a player or whatever. But if you don't make a move, as to say a failure, or you're not in this cycle making a maneuver on you, life is like a chessboard that maneuvers on you. People are making moves on you. You're going to be in some position. Then you're going to feel it and think, fuck, I should have done this 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
To this day, I think about these things, and it's amazing to see how people like you and I are like fucking connected and shit.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. If you don't make a move, you're a bystander, you know, and like life is only fun when you play the game. Like how boring would it be just to sit in front of a chess board and watch the guy opposite you just make moves all the time? You'd be fucking bored, you know? But then it's fun to learn the rules of the chess, like the game of life or whatever, and play the game and sit and get beat a bunch of times and then figure out, okay, so I can memorize all these moves and shit. Like, side note, chess amazes me, man. Like, I'm not like a big chess guy, but there's like names for all these like moves and things. Like all the moves are like, they're like preset moves that everyone has.
Yes.
And like these guys are thinking, and when you watch the Grandmasters, like I've seen games where they literally start the game, they make 2 moves, and the guy already knows he's beat. Because he sees, like, they can see like 10 steps ahead. They go, okay, if I make this, I've already fucked up. So if I make that move, then this is gonna it's gonna cause this sequence of events, and he's gonna win. So they always just capitulate, you know, and they're like, make 2 moves. Okay, fuck, you won already. You know, that's an amazing game.
That's what I like about playing the game of life. You know, like you said, it's boring if you can't play it, and then you're just quote unquote crying because you can't play it. I always say, if you're listening to this, chances are you live in the West. I have a like a wish for people. If you want to take yourself off the board, I'm not saying this to kill yourself, but to take yourself off the board means basically go to the East, go to fucking Tibet or Nepal or something, go to fucking monastery and become a monk. Then you're not playing anymore. Then you're meditating on the universe, what is the meaning of life. Then you're fucking high on life and shit like that. But as long as you live in the West, you're gonna have to improve in health, wealth, your skill sets, your relations, that either be men or women. You're gonna have to learn how to play the rules or get played. Play or get played, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. How's that cigar, by the way?
This cigar actually is really good because I chose it for the length, actually, the duration. But the ring gauge, I forgot. The thicker the ring gauge. Oh, you asked me, Shaw. You said like, yo, Fury, how do you get the maximum amount of smoke? And like logically, it's just a thicker ring gauge. And it's really cool how this one like goes off in like fucking like clouds of smoke, man. I really like it.
Yeah.
And it's nice how
I got an uneven burn right now.
Yeah.
I had to even it up.
Yeah, that's no offense. That's your drawing technique. I've told you that always has that. He's like, Fury, how do you do it? I'm like, yeah, you're a noob, man. You have to keep drawing it.
Yeah. Oh, I need to take this ash off. It's gonna fall.
No, it's take your time, man. That last topic that we discussed is a nice segue into the next question. So take your time, man.
Go for it. I'm ready.
So basically, we were talking about how to attack life, you know? And so one question that I asked you in the written interview was, if you'd had this massive billboard that would talk to the universe or everybody in our audience, what would this billboard say? Can you like say to the audience what the billboard would say?
I think I said, no one's going to give you what you want. You have to get it for yourself. Is that what I said?
Yeah. Can you we've heard a little bit about it via your stories in drop shipping and shit like that, but can you maybe like, why is it so important to you? Because I can imagine some people, they're not that belligerent, they're not that aggressive, and they're just gonna let life play them, you know? Why is it so important for you to say this to a person?
Because people just coast, like they're coasters. And that's okay. Some people like stay low key. Some people want to coast. Like not everybody can be like this crazy fucking go kind of person. But for the people that are watching your podcast and people that, you know, follow you on Twitter, like they follow you and like other people in our space, like for a reason, you know, because they want to take that next step. They want to get the next level. But when you begin, you got to realize that you can't coast. Like you literally have to make effort every day to get what you want. If you want a great body, you want a six pack, you want to be jacked as fuck, you need it every day. You got to be eating the right shit. You got to have the right habits. You got to be exercising. If you want to have a respectable like income, like you got to every day you got to work. You either got to study super hard and be like a fucking doctor or an engineer or whatever, or you got to work on your business every day. Or if you want to be the best at anything or great at anything, every day it's a consistent ongoing thing. But so many people they just think that if they wait long enough, I'm going to get it. Like one of the things that like maybe some parents tell their kids is like, good things come to those who wait, and while that's true in maybe some contexts, in the context of like life, it's not true. You have to like literally like put your foot through the door, and get it. You got to break in and you got to fucking take it for yourself.
Yeah. When I read that, like, so all the interviews that I do with all these people, of course, you resonate with some things more than others, of people, but also the questions and shit like that. But this one, I really like the way you phrase it. You have to kick in the door. That's almost like military analogy. So I've been listening a lot to David Goggins, and he says it as well. You have these like door breachers. He says that's an analogy for life. You have to attack that fucking door and go in hard. The style at which you approach life. You can't fucking coast. And I'm not gonna share all my fucking stories, but for me it resonates deeply. All the times did I coast it? Yeah, shit went me by. We're gonna touch upon that a little bit later, with travels and shit like that. I know that like Hungary and Budapest, we can talk about that. But I think it's important for the audience to know, like, if you're listening to this and you're young, it's not like you failed, you still got time. If you're listening to this, you're not dead, that means you have time. I'm not that person to like, oh, you're a fucking loser, Sometimes I say that to trigger people, but it's just, you have to understand that you have to put in effort, but also consistent effort over a long period of time. I always give the analogy for those who love martial arts. There's this art called BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you tomorrow decide that you want a BJJ black belt, but you're, let's say, 60 years old, there's a chance that you're too late. Because to get a BJJ black belt, you have to put in consistent effort with purposeful practice through multiple iterations with feedback to your practice for 10 years. Unless you're a talent, you can get it in 5 years. I know people like Joe Rogan, he did it in 6 years or something like that. He got a surprise, oh shit, I'm BJJ black belt now. Or Tyron Woodley, the UFC champion, he got it in like 5 years or something. Thing is, it's a metaphor for the things you said, like business, a good income, stories that you want to tell your grandkids, or if you want a good spouse. You can't just wake up and think, today I want a supermodel girlfriend, I want a fucking Bugatti Chiron, I want a Lamborghini Gallardo, I want to be on a yacht in Monaco. You can like have this vision, but you have to understand it's gonna fucking take you 10 years. That's fine, that's fine. You can have these goals, but you have to understand, you have to position yourself, you have to attack the fucking goal.
Yeah, and that vision fuels you. Like that's what I always do. Like the visualization is so like it sounds a bit floaty and a bit woo-woo, but it's true. Like you can literally say, like so many famous people, so many successful people, they always talk about visualization. Like you think about what you want. Like if you imagine what you want in your head and you have a very clear picture of it, and by the way, the clearer, like the higher resolution that image in your mind, the easier it's going to be to get. If you define it super tight, it's going to be easier to get. If it's like a very blurry, like low resolution image in your mind, like it's going to be harder to move towards because you don't know what it is exactly. You got to really, you got to sit and really think for like a long ass time. And it's going to change. It's going to change. Like what you want is going to change all the time. That's fine. But as long as you have that vision in front of you, that you can aim for, and then you start putting in the repetitions every day. Like whether it be work, getting a good body, you go to the gym every day, you eat the right food every day. If you want to build a business, you every day you jump on your laptop, you start working. If you want a supermodel girlfriend, you got to become like a certain kind of person. You got to become like a high value person, and you got to develop your social skills and put yourself in the locations where these girls are,
A good example.
Then you get them.
A good example was the guy that you talked about, the Malaysian $1 billion dude. He supposedly slept with Miranda Kerr. And this guy, he's fat, Asian, and not good looking, Yeah,
and socially awkward. There's multiple times throughout the book where these supermodels who were interviewed for the book, they all said, like in their interview, this guy was awkward around women. He didn't know how to speak to women. He had no idea. But he was like giving them $1 million gifts and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The $1 billion simp.
Yeah, we're gonna touch. I think a thing we talked about in our private conversations about game and Red Pill. We're gonna talk about that later. I think that's fun for the audience.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm hearing, yeah, I'm not gonna say you have like an an unordinary mindset, but you said in the interview, your investment, a big investment that you made, was playing rugby.
Yeah.
Why did you say that? Like, what kind of edge did that give you?
It teaches you like the value of like many things. Like it teaches like the value of like a strong body and like a strong like mindset, because like no matter what someone tells you, when there's like 130-kilogram dude like sprinting at you, you need to have balls to tackle him. Like you need to have balls to like put your body on the line to tackle this guy. So and you need to build up your body to make that tackle. You know, so you have to put in a lot of work just to, you got to work out. You got to look after your nutrition. You got to look after your body in order to make that tackle, in order to perform in that, like that scary quote unquote situation where you have this huge guy running at you and you have to be able to tackle him, you know? And that develops like your mind, because if you don't have like a strong will or like a strong like mind, you're gonna pretend that you made an effort to make the tackle. But, oh, he just managed to get past me, you know? Oh, he was too good. He managed to get past me somehow, but really, like, you let him get past. Because if you really wanted to tackle him, he would be on the floor, because there's a technique to take down big guys like that. So it gives you like this strong like will. It teaches you how valuable it is to have like a strong body.
Mm-hmm.
It teaches you grit. And one thing I mentioned in the written interview is that it kind of shows you how, like, that was my first glimpse into seeing like what the levels of like competition there were in people. Because a guy on your team or a guy on their team, you know, you could see him at the start of the game before you play, and he's huge. You know, he could be like 6'5", jacked as a motherfucker. But once he starts running for 20 minutes, he's so exhausted and he's walking on the pitch and he has no will to keep pushing, you know, and keep running to the next place where the ball is going to be or whatever. And then you realize, oh, okay. And then you see like these guys that don't look in good shape, or they're really small guys, and they're running all the time, and they're tackling the big guys, and they're putting in effort. So it really shows you, like, even though someone might look intimidating or might look they've got their shit together, or they might look a certain way, whatever, the odds are that they're not as far ahead of you as you might think. You know, like it's easy to get an edge on these guys, because whenever you put in just a little bit of effort, like a little bit of extra cardio work, a little bit of extra work in the gym, or you do a little bit of extra work in your laptop or whatever, you're going to be able to run circles around the guys who supposedly have all their shit together, you know? And that's kind of what I took away from like rugby. But mostly on the physical side, like it showed me how important it is to be physical. Yeah, I'm not a big guy, but I stand shit.
Yeah, because how tall are you? Like you don't seem like a.
I'm short ass dude. I'm like 5'9".
So you put yourself basically in the arena and you taught yourself, through a physical feedback loop, let's call it that, to see, you know, you have these people who just look the part but aren't the part, you know, being instead of becoming, you know.
Yeah. And like you can see it in like professional level sports too, like especially in like rugby or like American football or whatever. Even in basketball, like everyone in basketball, you expect them to be 6'5", but then there's like guys like 5'10" who's able to dunk, you know, and he can dunk on these guys, you know. It's because he had to put in the actual work to be able to get to that level. Yeah. And you know, maybe there was guys on his college team or high school team who were 6'5" and they could dunk super easily. But he's 5'10". He's in the NBA, where these other guys are like now working at 9 to 5.
He had to work extra hard to catch up with certain skill sets, certain mindsets, to position himself against longer people, taller people, and because of that, he's now a better player, so to say. It's funny that you mentioned. Yeah, go ahead.
It ties back to what we were saying about chess. Is that like if you don't play the game, you get played against. You get moves made against you. You know. And like everyone's always like trying to say, oh, we got to make the playing field as even as possible. It's never going to happen. People have natural advantages, natural unfair advantages. People are taller, smarter, better looking. They can speak better. There's always somebody who's better than you. but
Yes.
you can still beat them. You can still beat them just by putting in a little bit extra work. Like it's, you know.
This actually is a nice segue into something that we've talked about in private. We talked about like our Twitter growth, you know, and you were like, you're a very over competitive person, you know, and you felt like that you maybe like were not doing enough or something, and I told you not to over compare, you know. But basically you just told the audience like your mindset, how to like win eventually, you know, like
you put in the extra work. I wasn't putting in the work because I do a few different things. I don't just have like an e-com business. I have, you know, a couple other things going, and like Twitter is one of them, you know, and I kind of intentionally put it as a backseat to focus on the other ones because you can't focus on so many things at once. And then of course then I see my growth was way slower in comparison to what I wanted it to be. And then I was like, fuck, I was like, because I'm so competitive, I'm like, shit, I want to be growing like as fast as some of these other guys, but they put in the work. I didn't. So it's my fault that I wasn't growing as much as I wanted to. So, but now I'm going to fix that. I'm going to, you know.
Yeah, but so the advice that I gave you, I can share with the audience as well, is not to look at them, you know, because people that know me, like I have been on Twitter since 2015. People say I'm a fast learner, but I see these motherfuckers with their profile photo and their handle like I am a Twitter hustle account or something and shit like that. I see 15 millions of these accounts on a fucking day-to-day basis passing me by in fucking 2 weeks, 2 months and shit like that. They're 10K accounts and shit like that. And for me, I resonated deeply with that in the sense that I'm a competitive person as well. And I see these motherfuckers and I think, yo, what the fuck is this? Why are they growing so fucking fast? You know? And at one point I just had to make a conscious decision to let that go. You know, I told you, like, for me, the mindset is of course to win, but the mindset to win is to play my own game and ignore them. And when I ignore them, I'm in my most optimum state, you know? I'm just like, I told you, like head down, like you just like put your fucking head down, but from time to time you can put your head up again and like compare, like, oh fuck, you know? Like for example, people know me now, I'm growing quite good this month, but what they don't know is like 2 months ago, I was like, fuck, the Twitter algorithm like fucking toggled me and I was like stagnant. Like I was stuck at 7,000 or something. And I was like, then I was thinking as well, like what kind of business models am I focusing on and what are the priorities in my life? Then I thought, you know what? I still get DMs on a day-to-day basis, shit like that. I'm not over exaggerating. Yo, Fury, you saved my life or some shit, you know? And then I'm thinking like, okay, there is some kind of service and I'm helping people. And they say, you know, even if you're like, I'm not there yet, but even if you were like making billions of dollars, that feeling is very different depending on what kind of person you are than when you help somebody, you know? When you're helping somebody, you're changing the world on a microcosm, you know, micro scale. And then I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna compare with fitness accounts, like even the accounts that look like me, like these very esoteric accounts, very spiritual wise people. Fuck it, I'm not gonna look at them. I'm just gonna go in my fucking journal, and the thoughts that I'm having as to my own self-mastery, I'm just gonna share them. And if I grow, I grow. Focus on the process. And if I put my head up, then I'll see how far I am. And a couple months later, where we are right now, I'm growing a little bit faster. And now I'm, how do you say, feeling this energy again. I'm on this wave again. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gliding on this crest of this wave again. Maybe I have another downfall, you know, I'm preparing for that. And I'm not looking at other people, you know, so I'm not over comparing.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It helps to like, you know, at a strategic level, see what other people are doing, like see what works, see what doesn't work. Like it would be stupid to ignore that stuff because it's valuable info.
Yeah.
But in terms of comparing like where you are to where they are, it's totally unhealthy to like get that bummed up. Like you can try and it takes a bit of mental gymnastics to turn that around and to turn it into motivation to push forward. It takes a little bit of mental gymnastics to do that, but it's totally doable. Like you can see, oh, fuck, that guy is like way ahead of me in some, some way. Let me harness this fucking, energy and use it as fuel to go forward, That can be done. It takes a little bit of reframing, I guess, but
I think
it's
an important thing is to put it in psychological terms is to have detachment. I always like to talk about mindfulness and Zen Buddhism is that we ascribe too much emotional value, too much importance to these things. And so we have to step away from like the importance to win. It sounds strange, but to win, you have to not care. You have to step away from the chessboard, and you're not a piece on the chessboard. You have to step away from the chessboard and think, okay, I am a piece on this board. And from a very cool and calm, collected point of view, you're thinking, okay, this guy, he just outmaneuvered me. What did he do? You have to think it very robot-like, very like a machine. He did X, and then he got Y result. Okay, I'm gonna try that as well in my own way. I'm gonna try to make this move as well. Not from a jealous or envious point of view. You have to strip away the emotion. And yeah, I talk a lot about these things in my Telegram channel, how to meditate on these emotions and shit like that. You really have to be, yeah, I call it like, those infinity pools in Bali and shit like that?
Yeah.
When you go into a pool, you see when people are swimming, there are a lot of waves and ripples, If your mind is troubled and you're like fighting these waves, it's like a troubled pool. But if nobody is in the pool, it's still as fuck. It's like almost like ice. Then you can make your moves. Because then you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna do this in my dropship business. I'm gonna go in this Twitter business. I'm gonna build my body, You're thinking from a very strategic, calm point of view, and then you'll see if you're in the proper state of mind, then you're gonna start winning suddenly. Like, wait, why the fuck am I winning suddenly, So that's very important. The state of mind is always important.
Yeah, I totally agree. Focusing. I mean, I'm not even going to try and elaborate on that because you just did it perfectly. But yeah, that's a massive mindset shift that people need to make in terms of like getting what they actually want.
Yeah. So how's the cigar?
This was good. I mean,
is this your first Nicaraguan or your first Joya or?
First Joya. I've had some Nicaraguans before. I've had mostly Dominican, then Nicaraguan, and then I've had like only a handful of Cubans so far.
Yeah.
But this is my first Joya, and I really like it. I really, really like it. I prefer these like smaller ring gauges, to be honest. Like the thicker ones, I don't think I've built up much of like a tolerance, I guess. It's because like nicotine just hits me like crazy.
Yeah.
And I showed you that. I think I sent you a picture of the Horatio XXL one that I have. It's literally like this thick.
Did you smoke?
I'm fucking scared. No, yeah, I'm fucking scared to smoke that, dude. I'm just like, this thing's gonna knock me out, like full of nicotine. Like I'm gonna have like the biggest nicotine rush ever. But
yeah,
I gotta build up to
it. If I remember correctly, you weren't a cigarette smoker, right? Before you started cigars, right? Oh, okay.
I hate cigarettes. I hate them. I hate them.
I think maybe for me, because before I smoked my first cigar in 2018, I was a chain smoker since 2015. So I built up maybe like the neural pathways for the nicotine hit, I think. And also, I won't touch upon that. My, how do I call this? My tolerance for external stimuli is higher than the average person. So we were talking about cigars. I can tell you a story. I went to the third city of Poland. It's called Wrocław or Wrocław or something like that for the know-how people. And I went to the only, it's a small town. So I went to the only cigar store there. And I bought like a Cuban, and it is called Bolivar Royal Corona. It's a nice thick ring gauge, almost like a Robusto. And this guy, he said to me, sir, I have to give you a heed of advice. I'm like, okay, dude, what kind of special advice you're going to give me? Back then, I only smoked maybe 30 plus. Oh, yeah.
Bolivar.
That one is an excellent cigar. That one is, it's one of the, if I want to recommend a Cuban to a person, for example, one of my best friends, he'd never smoked a cigar. And for his birthday, he's not a smoker at all. And he actually didn't want to do it. But I said, but he loves experiences, you know? I was like, I'm going to get you a Cuban cigar. We're going to smoke it together for your 28th birthday. It's going to be special. I gave him that because the draw on that is good. It burns good. And it gives you the flavor packed for a nice experience, you know?
Yeah.
But it's strong. So the store owner, he said like, sir, you have to fill up your stomach a little bit to create a baseline to take up this cigar. And I was like, I looked at this guy. I was like, yeah, man, I'm good. You know, he doesn't know me. But anyway, I had an empty stomach that day. So I went to like a big steakhouse on like the big square. It's the biggest square in Europe. I recommend people to go to Poland, to this city, specifically for that square. It's called Rajnek Square. It's the biggest square in whole Europe. It's a lot of scammy people walk around, but in the day it's beautiful. I recommend going in spring, March, and April. You know, for the travelers out there, it's the time to go to Poland. But anyway, I was smoking this fucking cigar, so I had an empty stomach, and the girl said, "Sir, the steak is coming in 15 to 30 minutes. Can you wait that long?" I was like, yeah, bitch, I'm smoking the cigar. Shut up, get me my steak. But I was smoking that cigar, and then I thought, oh, this guy's right. For a normal person, they would be wobbled, you know?
Yeah.
But I actually enjoy to be rocked, you know? It's my marathon running days. I like to get hit, you know? So I was like, shit, it's a strong cigar. It's a good cigar.
Yeah, the big ones are like, it is such a step up from the Coronas or like the Robustos to like these fucking huge ass ones. I don't even know what Vitola it is, but these massive like sausage ones, you know.
Yeah.
I think Autoriten said it was a BBC.
Yeah, big black cock. He always says that. He has a picture of me. We went to like this cigar store in Brussels, and that's in our like early cigar days. And I asked like the cigar store owner, I want something strong, and he whipped out this massive like BBC. And like, this, I said, yo, bro, you want to fucking kill me? And like, that he took like a picture, and constantly he's like, yo, BBC.
Yeah. There's one that's, I think it's called like the Grand Corona, I think. It's like this fucking long, you know? There's like a picture of like Michael Jordan like smoking it or something. It's cool.
Yeah. Michael Jordan, for the cigar, how do you say, lovers? Michael Jordan, one of his favorite cigars is the Hoyo de Monterrey Double Corona. And it's tied to history when he was in his prime, when he was winning those fucking Chicago home games. Before every game in the ride to the taxi to the game, he smoked the Hoyo de Monterrey Double Corona, and that's how he supposedly won, you know? For
give him superpowers.
Yeah, for the peak performance people out there, like if you want to like have magical powers. Yeah.
Did you ever see that movie Be Like Mike? I think it's called Be Like Mike. It's something like that. Basically, this kid in like a charity store, like a thrift store, he finds or he buys or he gets donated to these like old basketball shoes, right? And they say MJ inside them, like just like written on the inside of the tongue. In like black marker pen, it says MJ, and this kid puts on the shoes, and he becomes like he gets like Michael Jordan's like secret like special basketball powers, and he becomes like the best basketball player ever. It's kind of it's a cool movie from like back in the 90s.
Yeah, man. So during this course, we're give or take over the half mile point now, to give you like an indication where we're. You seem like, to me, compared to normies, like a more special person, you know. I wouldn't meet you on the street, you know. I'd like to have to go to hostels and shit like that to meet like these open people like you. But
yeah,
you said you have no unusual habits except for eating raw carrots. There must be.
Bro, I don't even know what I was thinking when I read. I read that and I was like, fuck, I don't have any unusual habits. Like off the top of my head, I don't think so, but. I don't know, just always as a kid, like when my mom was cooking or whatever, she'd be chopping up carrots. I'd be like, you know, give me some of them fucking raw carrots. Like, I would just sit and fucking eat raw carrots. I don't even know if that's an unusual habit, but it was literally the only thing that came to my mind.
No, okay. Yeah.
Try eating a raw carrot. It's nice.
No, it's good. So I've been reading up a lot about foods, and raw carrot is good for it has something called it has a compound called beta carotene, and it is apparent in tomatoes, reddish dark bell peppers, and carrots. And it's good for the skin. It gives you that hue. So these fruits and these vegetables have these colorful things, and if you eat them, you get that color. So to say, you get more a healthy flush in your skin, and it's attributed to a better flow of blood through your system, and it's good for people who have ED problems. So you're welcome, guys.
They said it's like turmeric, I think. Like if you eat turmeric, like you get like glowing skin or something like that.
Yeah.
I've heard that before.
But what we can talk about, something unusual. I'd like to talk about your travel experiences. So you just been to Hungary, you know? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience in Budapest? That's fun for this.
Yeah, so like everyone was basically locked down for the first 6 months or whatever of 2020.
Except Shaw.
well, I'm stuck here. I was in Ireland, so I'm stuck in Ireland, and for whatever it was, like 4 or 5, 6 months, whatever, just inside, can barely go anywhere. So I was losing my fucking mind. So as soon as like they started opening things up and opening up flights and stuff like that, they eased the lockdown a little bit over summer. So I was like, right, I need to leave. I have to go somewhere. And I went to Budapest
losing my fucking
year.
mind too as well, but
yeah. So I went to Budapest last year just for like a week or so, I think, and I just loved it. And I was like, I'll just go there again. I'll book an Airbnb for like a month or whatever, and I'll just go. I'll work in my business. I'll make it like a monk mode thing. That monk mode everyone says. I'll make it like that. I'll just go. I'll set up my laptop. I'll work for certain hours a day. I'll work out. I'll eat good. I'll go out. I'll socialize. Blah blah blah. And I ended up extending to
friends. I saw on your Instagram stories you were with people or like.
So I went alone. I went alone first, and then shout out to my good buddy Jewel on IG. He linked me up with the guy that he knew there, because I was there for like a week and I was chatting to my friend. And he was like, he's like Mr. Worldwide. He's like the man of mystery, right? And I was just chatting to him. And he goes, "Oh, I know like some people there. Do you want me to like link you up?" And I was like, "Yeah, 100%." So he linked me up with a guy there. I met him. He was cool. And then I get introduced to like his friend group, and I stay in contact with the people that I liked, and I didn't mingle more with the people that I didn't like.
Of course.
And and I started from that sort of, I always keep my social circle really small, not even just from like a health point of view, like having a healthy social circle, but I like mentally can't keep up with a big circle. It's actually hard for me. I forget, like, oh fuck, I should have reached out to this person or whatever. So I naturally need to keep like a smaller social circle. So I picked, I liked like 2 or 3 guys. We kept meeting up, friends. That was literally just out of the blue, like randomly. Like met them, we vibed, kept meeting up, and they were sort of some of those guys were like digital nomad types. They were living in Budapest, just running like affiliate marketing websites or whatever. They would just like write a few articles every week just to keep their site ticking over, live off affiliate commissions. Basically, they're not super like high performers, like motivated or whatever. They just want to keep that baseline of like ticking over.
I know what you mean. Just keeping on the go while keeping a trickle of cash flow and just keep pushing forward.
Yeah. So that's what those guys were like. But they were cool. And I met another cool guy from Italy, and he had a very interesting job because I've never met anyone like that. He was like an international sales guy. Like he worked like self-employed, but a certain company would employ him to travel around the world and set up like distribution networks for their product. Okay. Once he would set up that network, that warehouse or whatever, that distributor would place a huge bulk order for the product, and he'd take a cut.
Okay.
And from what I gather, I don't like asking people about how much they make, but from what I gather, made plenty of money, a couple of Rolex watches, so he's doing well. And he was a cool guy to meet. So that also shows you about like what we were talking earlier about, like the networking thing, like it's so like when you're super like socialized, when you're good at socializing with people, when you're good at like I can go out into any city and strike up a conversation with someone, and I can become friends with them if they're cool. That's a really good skill to have, like really good skill. And like if you're like if you're young, like stuck in like your home city or whatever, just practice in your own city. You know, just go out to your local pub or whatever, strike up conversation, try and make new friends out of the blue. Because most people make their friends in school and college and work,
Yep.
where they're forced to be together. But most people never make these friends out of the blue, like random. Like they never randomly strike up a conversation and make a new friend. That's a superpower because you can really meet some really cool people. Those are the coolest people you can meet.
Yeah, 100, man. Actually, I think we found your unusual thing because you just disclosed to me that you traveled solo, you know? You made this solo. And what's funny about me is I travel solo as well, but what's even more surprising, quote unquote surprising, is that when I share this on the timeline, it's like the Twitter timeline is like, how do I say this? Like a mirror into society, into the human psyche, so to say. Apparently, it's very unique, unusual to travel alone. And can you like tell the audience, have you done this before, or was this your first trip? And when was your first trip? Can you talk about how did you come to do this? Because apparently for some people it's scary as fuck, and I can relate. But can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I haven't really done a ton of like solo traveling, and this wasn't too much traveling because I booked I had an apartment, I had like a home base. I was like in one place. I wasn't really moving around a lot. But I've done some like a little bit of backpacking and stuff before when I was in uni. And I went to Southeast Asia for like a month or two. I think it was like a month and a half. I think I did it. Not even like as far as backpacking goes. That's like a very short trip, Yeah. But I just went with a couple of buddies and we just did all the classic fucking Thailand things, all the classic places everyone goes. Did that. But in terms of solo traveling, I guess it just depends on the kind of person you are. Like I was going there with the intention of, let me get out of here, let me reset, let me clear my mind, let me refocus on like my work, and work on that. That makes like I set like specific goals I wanted to have completed by the end of it. I achieved most of them, not all of them. So I had a super specific reason for going. So traveling alone wasn't much of a problem because I'd expected to sort of be solo the whole time, but I'm a social guy, so I had to eventually like try and meet some people, or else I would just be bored out of my fucking mind,
So that's interesting to hear because this is basically for the noobs. How do you say, they're a little bit anxious to make the plunge. So basically what you just told us is you have a little experience. You already made the deep dive with your friends, a little bit to go to a far away place like Southeast Asia, all the way from Ireland. But also this time you, had an intent, like a plan, an itinerary, like you're going to work on your business while chilling in Hungary, in Budapest, while having fun and combining it,
Yeah.
So the plan kept you grounded, so to say.
Mm-hmm. And it was my original plan to be more mobile, before I left to go to Budapest, I was like, I'll go to Budapest for, 3 weeks and then I'll maybe go to, Prague or Serbia or whatever.
Did you go to Serbia? Did you go to Serbia?
No. But this is like the point is like, because my intention was to like hustle on my business and like actually move the needle and like get shit done. Okay. I spoke to a few people who had done similar things before and they're like, don't move around because like a lack of routine is like the killer of all like success and progress. So if you actually want to make any sort of progress, you can't be moving around all the time because like when you go to a new place, like you want to explore the city, you want to check it out, like you're disjointed, you're not in a routine, you're not, you don't feel like, structured, but like routines and structure, it is the catalyst for more success. Like, because you have to be able to focus, you have to have this routine. So I kind of threw out that idea of like, bouncing around different places, and I just stuck to Budapest because I liked it a lot, and I stayed there for 2 months, which is pretty, which I'm happy I did that now because it's a really cool city, and I'll definitely be going back.
Yeah, man, I love it. We'll go to Serbia one day together, man. I want to go there because the women there are beautiful, and they all love Latin dancing. I love that.
Are you a Latin dancer? Can you do that?
I took a couple of months courses. So when you see me in the club or somewhere where they play Latin music, they'll see this Asian guy who knows a little bit about the steps, and they're like, oh shit, you know. People always, what was it? The other people love to peg me or label me. Whoa, I didn't peg Fury like that. It's something like that. So when some Latin music comes and like I grab a girl or something, and suddenly they think, fuck, hey, this guy, he knows the moves, you know.
Yeah. That is such a play. That is a huge play. I know some guys that's their like game. You know, they'll go into like the Latin classes in each city they go to, and because guys are scared to dance. Guys are afraid to dance. So if you're the guy that's like grabbing the hot chick's hand and like dancing, then you instantly put yourself like levels above everyone else.
Yeah, man. So something that I wanted to touch about. You're Irish, right?
Northern Irish, yeah, technically.
Yeah. You talked about that you're social and how do you say, you almost threw it as like a throwaway line, like guys, when you're a little bit social awkward, go to your local pub and just socialize with people. I'm gonna tell you this, you know, straight up. In my country, I've done a lot of solo outings, go out by myself, have a drink and shit like that. These days, I do it differently with a different intent. When I celebrate a new Twitter victory or something like that, I just go to different bars, like explore my own city, but pop some smoke, and then that draws a little bit of attention. Not that I want it, but I just enjoy my fucking cigar, and I think I'm not gonna interact with people, but I have a positive vibe because I'm celebrating something. Yeah. But for the game dudes out there, or like people that want to train their social aspect, not gonna lie, if you, how do you say, like if you're not Irish and it's not fluent, it's gonna create some like friction. People like, why is this Asian dude talking to me, you know, like.
Yeah, it's like disjointed. Yeah, it's forced. I have like a bit of, I don't know, I don't get, like I met like my first like game guys when I was in Budapest, and like I get like a lot what they're saying, like they're in their like maybe early mid 30s, like you know, I'm just like, why do you need to study game? It's like, it's, you know, and they're just like, oh, how old are you? And I tell them, and they're like, okay, well, wait until you're in your 30s. And I'm like, right, okay, bro. You need to like go out in the street, hit the street, and like talk to, like this guy said, I need to talk to like 20 girls a day. I have to. It's like their whole life like revolves around, you know, all their self-worth is based on like, can I talk to these girls? Can I get these girls? It's like, yeah, like girls are great. Girls are amazing. Love girls. But if it's your main focus, I can't relate to that. Like I can't relate to everything in my life being like female centric.
Yeah.
But that's what all these like game guys are. But it's whatever. Like each to their own. Like people enjoy a lot more. Like there's not one way of being happy. There's not one way of doing things. Like each to their own.
But I actually wanted to share, like, I have this mental checklist that I meet like lots of different cultures around the world. And at the top of my list, I kid you not, every Irish person that I meet has a skip in their step, like a jovial tone in their voice, and they're very open and social. Like, can you like tell the audience what is the secret? Like, that is, I'm trying to cut to the source. Like, is it something like in the pub vibes that you have there, or the way you're raised, or maybe it's just genetics? What do you think?
I'm not sure. I'll tell you one thing that really helps is the stereotype. The stereotype is always a foot in the door. It's literally like, if you say to someone, yeah, I'm from Ireland or I'm Irish, they're like, oh, you're right. Like they want to speak to you. Like for whatever reason, the stereotype gives you this like edge up in the beginning, you know, and then you just need to like, you know, keep that energy. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think people here are just like very open to banter in part of day-to-day life. Like if you go to like the shop and you're like literally like a 5-second like interaction with like the cashier, there's always like a little bit of small banter like back and forth. That's kind of like the norm here, you know, a little bit of small banter. Or if you meet someone in the pub, it's like you have short back and forth with everybody. It's just always a quick hits of banter like that. And I feel like that's culture. No one really, or very few people really take themselves seriously. Everyone wants to be like funny and like, you know, have a good time. No one's really like, of course you get uptight people, but I think in general people here are quite like open, quite like, you know, they love just to laugh. They love just to have fun and banter.
Yeah.
Whereas like other cultures might be a bit more reserved, like Germans, for example, like they're very reserved.
And the Dutch.
Really, like that hasn't been my experience though with the Dutch.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna attribute this to race, but it's because you're white. It's because you're Caucasian. Yeah. But no, I was just for the, how do you say, like, because what people don't know of me, like, you're my friend, we've sparred before, had private conversations, shared a lot of like intimate stuff as well. So you and I have like a connection. And so our conversation flows and sparks better,
Yeah.
Me growing up, I'm a very introverted person. And when I was younger, I had like, I think you would attribute it now as anxiety. But back then, my headspace, I didn't know it, so to say,
Yeah.
Aware of it. I was one of those persons, people would say to me, for example, they didn't say it maybe behind my back, but they would say, yeah, that guy is socially awkward, And I didn't know it until later, then because I journal a lot, I was fucking like awkward and shit like that, But I was just trying to like give the audience, like for maybe like the newcomers, like these 16-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids, like a breakdown. Basically, you're saying like just to have fun, be open, know your environment, know your scenery, know the culture, and just have some banter and don't focus too much on running down chicks on 20 girls a day, and just be how do you say, just be social is too general. I think maybe just enjoy yourself, just be yourself.
There was I can't remember where I heard this, but I heard someone talk about this like study they did with kids who were their parents played with them physically a lot as like toddlers.
Okay.
So they had two groups of kids. One group of kids were like played with a lot when they were kids, like you throw them around, you're very physical with them, like parents. And then kids whose parents were not physical like that, they didn't have this like playful, relationship. They weren't, throwing the kids and like, physically playing with them like you should, like parents do with most of their kids. So they did that. They had a study where they basically discovered that the kids that weren't played with physically by their parents were socially awkward. Like they didn't know like the boundaries, like it's hard to describe, but they didn't know like whenever they interacted with these children, they could feel the awkwardness. These kids were awkward. They didn't know how to speak. They didn't know how to interact with like other humans. And that started from like a really young age. And that ties back to also what I was saying about like rugby, but team sports in general, and especially contact sports. It's like when you're a teenager and literally every day you're like basically wrestling with other guys your age, and you're like making fun of them, like bantering with them, like you're getting made fun of, and it's going back and forth, but it's all like good natured. It teaches you how to do that, and like whenever you're an adult, then if you've never had that before, then you're socially awkward because you don't know how to spar with like other people.
I get it.
You don't know how to be like social. But if you're in like a team sport, and especially a contact team sport, or any sport really where you're super like one-on-one with people, then you build that up. And then whenever you are an adult, then it is natural. Then it's not awkward, and you don't come across as awkward. That's the way I look at it. Because I mean, it's the stereotypical kids in like school who are the quiet, awkward ones. If you ever speak to them, like, oh, well, what do you like? What's your hobbies or whatever? They're never in sport. They're never in contact sport. They're never doing any physical.
That was
like, go home, jump on the video games. They hide away, and then they come to school the next day. But like these other kids, they're in school, and then after school they go to football practice, or they do karate or something in the evenings, and they're socializing with other kids, and they're being physical, and they're learning the boundaries, and they're learning how to like spar like verbally with people, and then of course that trains them and carries them on to adult life.
I charged my battery, by the way, Shaw, but now I'm at 19%.
Oh shit! I came prepared. I'm plugged in.
But yeah, the plug is in my room, so I'm just warning you as to like the 90.
It's all good. It's all good.
No. We're moving forward, because what I hear, you were giving away, how do you say, you were giving away the secrets to life as to how to get luckier. So I asked you, what is like a habit of yours in the last 5 years that you attribute to yourself now? And you said something like when you're in a good vibe, basically how you describe yourself, your social skills, and the way you present yourself, you position yourself to meet people like with Rolex and similar people like you, you know, like, can you talk a little bit how you got more luckier as to when you were thinking you were luckier, you know? Can you share a little bit about
Yeah. So I think like luck is real, but it's not like I said in the written interview, luck is real, but not in the sense that people traditionally think of luck, where it's like it's a random occurrence. Like you randomly get lucky, you randomly win a scratch card, you randomly hit the lottery or whatever. You randomly find a 10-euro note in your pocket.
Yeah.
I think you can actually build up your ability to attract luck by like interacting with like the world in like a positive way. Mm-hmm. So when you have like these consistent good habits, like you consistently eat good, you consistently work out, you consistently work towards a goal, you consistently, meet people who are similar to you, you actually put yourself out there a little bit. That builds up like it's like looks like compound interest, it like builds up like over and over and over, and then eventually it's like exponential. And I think that like you can build it up and you can force it to happen. You can force more luck to be in your life by simply just by being active, like mm-hmm. being active in it's hard to describe. Like
enter the arena, as Theodore Roosevelt, that famous quote.
Enter the arena, play the game positively, try to improve yourself, and you get luckier and luckier. I've noticed in the past 2 years, I've gotten luckier and luckier and luckier. I meet cooler people. I have more success in business. I feel better. My body looks better. All these things, when I look at what I was doing before versus what I was doing now, is that before I was active, like I was exercising and stuff, but I was never consciously using my time to further myself in like a goal or something.
I get it.
I never had a goal. And I never worked towards it. But now that I do that every day, I just so happen to be luckier. Things come to me easier. And I'm not saying I'm the fucking luckiest guy in the world. I've still got a long way to go, but this is just what I've like observed
luck of the Irish. So far. Luck of the Irish.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
No, I get it. What I hear from this is, if you work on yourself, if you focus on yourself, this is a cliche. If you focus on your mission and your vision, things will happen naturally for you, so to say.
Yeah. And you can apply it to everything. Like, you can, when you're detached more, you're detached from the outcome and you just focus on the steps, the outcome happens. But if all you're thinking about is, fuck, I need to make $1 million. I need to get this hot chick. I need to do this. I need that. I need it. Like the universe doesn't like I'm not like a floaty woo-woo type person, but just the universe as like a way to describe it is like the universe doesn't like giving, in my experience, the universe doesn't like giving success to people who are desperate for it, who are needy for it. Like when you're detached from it and you're kind of like stoic, in a sense, the universe gives you shit easier. It's so weird. Like, but it's funny because the people who care the most don't get it as easily as the people who recognize that is what happens. You know what I'm saying?
I think so. Coming back to what we talked about, that detachment, that Zen state of mind is. There's this aphorism. If you like go through all the Zen books, it's always the more you want something, and especially the more you need something, the less the chance is that you're going to get it. It's because of this neediness that the universe doesn't repay neediness in all forms. In business, relations, it doesn't matter. But this thing has to be set apart from, setting the intent or the goal or the process of getting something. You want something. You want to make something of your life, but you should take an emotional detachment step away from it while maintaining your logical frame of mind, the stoic frame of mind to actually get it. Like, for example, you want the BJJ black belt, you want this bodybuilder physique. You can't emotionally, put in all this fucking energy, because you're gonna burn out and stress out your fucking mind. But you should be more, intent towards working towards it, and eventually it'll fall in your lap. It reminds me of this massive quote from Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, he was in the Holocaust, he was imprisoned, and he was a psychiatrist. And there he found himself, so to say. And he taught a lot, and he wrote a lot in his famous The Meaning of Man. It's a famous book that people recommend a lot. You know, that the question that I asked you about what book have you ever given? A lot of people, like in the top performer circle, they recommend The Meaning of Man by Viktor Frankl, because there he talks a lot about happiness. And people always these days think happiness, a lot of people know that happiness is not a goal, it's a mood. And I even go further, it's on a day-to-day basis. Like today, the day has 24 hours. And in that duration of 24 hours, you're going to feel happiness 1 second, but the next second you're sad. The next second you're, this is maybe too bipolar, you know, but you feel a spectrum of 50 million emotions, I call it, in a very nuanced gradient throughout the whole day, you know? But Viktor Frankl has this cool quote. He says, you should not focus on happiness as a goal, but in the long run, you should focus on something else. And then he says, eventually, it might not happen, but happiness will fall in your lap. And I can imagine it can happen for us when we're like chasing our goals, chasing our dreams, putting it and grounding it in reality, that eventually we're sitting somewhere by a pool or somewhere in a certain moment and think, hey, this is actually what I wanted. Although, this is what I wanted, but I didn't focus on it, but I got it anyway. So fuck it, you know?
Yeah, it's all about like, there's been so many moments where I like I remember I started journaling maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, something like that. And I remember I wrote like one of my first goals was to have like location independence, you know, like to be able to go anywhere I wanted, not have to worry about money, like, and be able to make money wherever I went. And I realized that when I was just in Budapest for 2 months, even though I'd had it for quite a while already, it hadn't clicked. I'd got it because I was still at home, you know? Yeah. But then I went to Budapest and I was like chilling, and I can't remember where it was, but I was like, oh fuck, like I have achieved that goal. Now it's time to figure out, I'd achieved that grand vision that I had. Now it's time to figure out what my next grand vision is. Because I unknowingly stumbled into the first one, you know, without realizing it. Because I didn't go to Budapest with the intent of, this is me fulfilling my vision. I never even thought about it. But when I was there, I was like, oh shit, this is the fucking vision I had all those years ago. Yeah. I've got it. So now I gotta regroup, reassess, and think, what's my next grand vision? And I'm still thinking about it, because they take a while to come up with, you know?
Yes. They come up a while to come up with, like, the idea, this imagination, this vision. And also what you said earlier, the specificity of how you concretize the idea. You said the less blurry, the more crystallized this idea, this grand ideas, this step-by-step process, you must crystallize it to the minute details, and then it's easier to achieve. And once you get it, it's like, I have to keep going, you know? So that's the second step. I think, by the way, this is a good time to take like a mini pause, like a short break, if you want, because I have to plug in. We're going to continue. We're almost at the end. This is too good. Perfect. I have like 3 questions left. We can take like a small, like a pit stop, you know? Yeah.
Sure, let's do it.
And we're back. We just took a quick pit stop, talked about some other shit, women, sales, shit like that. My fucking cigar went out. But we were at the part that Shaw was explaining eloquently how he always has the look of the Irish, and his mastermind is further ahead than the younglings. And I wanted to ask him, like, if a college graduate would like come straight out of college or uni, just like how he did when he was like 18 years old or something like that, what kind of advice would he give to them?
Yeah, I think I mentioned in the interviews it was to do with like social skills, right? Rather than just like hustle. Yeah. I think that like one of like the common misconceptions is like, you just gotta You gotta hustle. You gotta work real hard. You gotta fucking like burn yourself out basically, like to get what you want. And while it's true, like to some degree, I find that like it is possible to shortcut a lot of that by simply having good social skills and connecting with people who connecting with and learning from people who are much further ahead of you in like the discipline that you want. Whether that might be just like making friends with somebody or hiring a coach or whatever, or like studying someone that is like way further ahead, you're gonna make progress much faster if you learn from someone far ahead.
Yeah.
But one of the mistakes then that people make is that they become leeches. You know, like they maybe make friends with someone on Twitter and like say that you build up a rapport, and it might be obvious that one side is taking so much more than the other, you know? And if you're that side that's taking more and more and more and just asking questions and not giving anything back, then you're like a leech, and like the other person isn't going to want. It's not like a real like relationship, you know, like a real friendship.
Yes.
So it's important to figure out like what your value is that you can give that other person.
Okay.
And if they give you a little bit of like knowledge or a little bit of advice, then perhaps you have something on your side that you can, you know, give them advice on as well. Because and that's like a mistake a lot of people make with like mentors. Everyone says get a mentor, and then people just DM someone randomly, mentor me. It's like, what do you mean, like mentor you? Like,
yeah,
why?
Reminds me of the aphorism: when the student is ready, the master will appear.
Yeah,
it's right in certain ways, in the sense that I'm not gonna lie, I get a lot of Twitter DMs, and a lot of are cool ones. You know, they're praising my stuff, not to satisfy my ego, but it shows good work. But there is a huge bulk, I'm not gonna lie, more than 50% is like, Fury, give me money, or mentor me, something like that. And then I, how do you say, not from a sleazy point of view, but I try to transition them as to like, hey, if you want my advice, I do paid consults for these specific things. You know, I try to give them paid consultations. And then usually you filter them out. They're not serious at all. They don't want to be mentored. They want free shit. And that's how I attribute a little bit to leeching, you know? But I 100% can relate with that, because like only like, let's say, give or take 3 to 5 years ago, I was not a leech, but I was one of those persons that maybe had not much to offer, in the sense that you don't know yourself enough, you know? These days, I've been like, even with you, I just asked you a question about sales. I'm not a sales expert or anything. I know a little bit like the bare fundamentals. And you yourself said you were learning these fundamentals from another expert just 6 months ago or something. But you committed and you had your own stuff and you put in the work. And that's how you get this equivalent exchange, so to say.
Yeah, and the way I learned like sales, and I'm by no means like a master sales guy. Like I've closed some good deals, but nothing in comparison to like some of these bigger guys.
Yeah.
But I learned off my coaches, and the reason I was able to learn them is because I paid them. You know, I paid them for their coaching. And that's skin in the game. And that's why you're not a leech, because you've given them, like, maybe I didn't have any skill that they wanted to learn from me, but I can pay them for their time. And that means I have skin in the game. It means that I'm not a time waster. And I've been able to, that's like proof that you're like worth their time. You know, if you're willing to pay for their time, it's like proof that, and if you have a good coach, which most coaches are, you know, they're going to give you their best fucking effort to make sure your money's worth. Like I've definitely, like I've made my money back like 10 times over, you know, what I pay my coaches. And you should always be trying to get new coaches. But once you get to a certain level in your skills, and maybe you build up a bit of a small audience on Twitter, you know, that's kind of like, it's kind of like social proof. Like Twitter's funny because, and like social media in general, it's like, a larger follower count, even though it's superficial on one hand, it opens you up in areas because at a glance, someone can like see that your thoughts are like validated, you know, like you could have like the most genius person in the world, but if they contact you off like a 0 follower account, you have no idea who they are. You might just think they're like someone trying to leech all your info. But if you have someone who's a little bit more established and they have social proof, you know, the things that they've been saying are validated by this group of people. So you entertain it a little bit more. And it's, I mean, whatever way you look at it, it might sound a little bit fucked up or whatever, but I mean, it's just like the way of the world. So once you build up a little bit of a following or an authority in a certain space, then you can start, you know, networking with like these other people and learning from them, and they can learn from you. And but again, never starting the relationship with like a take attitude, but like actually building a genuine relationship with people, finding people you actually vibe with that you're genuinely compatible with, like on a friend basis, and then the learning will flow from there.
100.
But if you don't have anything to give them in terms of value or whatever, just pay a coach. You know, if you want to get good at sales, pay a fucking sales coach. If you want to get good at job shipping, pay a fucking coach for e-commerce. You know, just pay coaches, and they'll give you the info, and that's how you accelerate.
Yeah, two things that I want to like mention in regards to this. Like we talked about earlier, my, so to say, Latin dancing skills. It's nowhere near it's supposed to be, but I actually paid a dancing coach. I took dancing classes for, I don't know how long I fucking did that. I did it long. So I paid this dude to teach me his skills. So I asked him all his questions. I still have the videos, you know, on my phone or my computer. So maybe one day if I'm going to get back into it, I'm 100 getting back into it. But I legit paid somebody, you know, I got those skills. For me, I like to learn languages. I went to language class. I paid this fucking dude to have like a group of other people who I could chat with. We did homework, shit like that. And that's, you just go to school again, and the school of life never ends, you know? So that's what I want to add. And second, the part that you said about, validating your social proof, so to say. I am blessed because I met people like you. And actually, funnily enough, like we met via another person, like Wiz of Ecom, a famous Twitter dude. And he loves to set me up with these crazy people. What I mean, crazy people, these smart, like open-minded, full of experiences people. Like he connected you and me, and also a couple of weeks ago with another person. And I was very surprised that he set it up again, you know? And Wiz, if you don't know him, if you talk to him in private channels, he is actually a very successful man, you know, not gonna lie. He's very established. But for me, if I were a younger person, I can imagine, like straight out of college, I would not feel comfortable enough to ask him things. It's not even that I ask him stuff, but these days he asks me stuff, you know, like, Fury, what is your thought process on this? How would you articulate this, you know, and stuff like that. And it's because I've done the internal research on myself that I've found insights that if I just share them, like on a, like, not, don't quote me on this, you know, like, this is what I'm thinking, you know, even what you said, like on the journaling aspect, I journal a lot. And if you ask me, I'm not a fucking journal guru or some shit, but I just do it daily. And I say, hey, try this, you know, and like, hey, I'm going to try that. And that's how you establish a very good feedback loop with very high top and peak performers, you know, like that's how it goes.
So if we tie it back, like the advice to give to someone who's in college, like a lot of people think that you just gotta, you know, if you wanted to learn to dance, right, and you're like, right, I want to learn to dance, let me just fucking try and learn on my own. Let me get some books. Let me maybe just watch some videos and like try and learn on my own. The speed that you'll be able to learn how to dance on your own versus actually just hiring a coach or having a relationship with someone who's like further ahead of you, it's like night and day. You're going to learn that skill 10 times faster. You know, so if you're in like college or something, and maybe you are starting a business on the side of your degree or something, rather than and also you don't have that much time in college. You're studying for your degree, like you're studying like fucking crazy. So do you really have time to sit and study a whole other discipline, like the hard way, you know, the long way around? Like, why don't you just get a coach or network with someone who is where you want to be, either pay for their time or exchange good value, and you know, you're going to get there so much faster.
And something I could share, you just said like exchange good value. It can also come in a very non-concretized form. So if you're paying somebody, that's like physical exchange, you know, like I pay you, you give me transference of knowledge and skills. But this, how do you say, untouchable, ungraspable aspect of good value can also come in the form of willing to learn / grow / give good energy. I can equate this like, I didn't lift when I was younger, but I can imagine one of my friends, he said, yo, Fury, it's pretty scary to go to the gym when you're young. But you know, there's a fucking bro there who's fucking jacked as fuck. If you come humble enough into the gym with, like, let's say a program that you bought from Ajax or another Reddit account or whatever, you come there and you're like putting on like the dumbbells and weights, and he sees you're fucking scrawny and a noob, and you're like fucking up or something, and you see him looking, or he gives you advice just for the act of that you went to the fucking gym, have a fucking paid membership, are willing to learn, have fucking good energy, like you want to conquer the world, you know, maybe you have to want to be the next Arnie, you know, and he's gonna see that, you know, he's gonna see that, because what's funny, top performers like that, like an analogy, this bodybuilder, he sees people like you as an old mirror image of himself, you know. And that's interesting, like that's very powerful, very potent for a young college kid. Just put yourself in the arena, you know.
You gotta have skin in the game.
Skin in the game, put yourself in the arena.
Like the reason why these people who just DM accounts and say, yeah, can you teach me everything you know, no one's going to respond to you and no one's going to give you anything they know, because you have zero skin in the game and you've given them no reason to. Like, imagine you DM someone, if someone DM me, right, and say, can you teach me everything you know about dropshipping? And imagine I give them a full list of everything you need to do. I guarantee you that person is not going to do a fucking thing because they've got no skin in the game. No. They have no commitment level. They just sent me a DM. There's no commitment there. There's no value exchange, you know?
Yeah, there's no investment, like a payment wall, like a payment barrier. They have to,
yeah. But if I saw that person, like, you know, interacting on the timeline and, like, you know, tweeting out some good shit, and this is just like in the environment of Twitter, there's so many more like ways you can apply this. But if I see people, that same person, like actually trying to actively learn and like grow, like on Twitter, and put out their ideas and thoughts, like if you sent me a message saying, hey, can you show me how to fucking dropship, I'd be like 100%, bro. Let's jump on a phone call and I'll explain everything that you need to know. Because we have this level of familiarity already built up. And I know that if you're asking me that question, it's because you're actually going to do something with it, you know?
And coming back to dancing is something kinetically, something physical, something with your body, you know? If you want to learn a martial arts or lifting or dancing, you have to actually do the shit. You can't just read it out of a fucking book. I have a story. I was in Central Europe, Slovenia. I was just traveling, and they only have like 4 to 5 bars. So I quickly figured out where they are. So I travel alone. So I was by myself at this bar. I was meeting up with this girl, but she's very, how do you say, flaky, you know? She was like, hey, I'm gonna meet with some other guys. I was like, okay, whatever. I was just drinking beer by myself at the bar. Then these cool, what were they, Dominican Republic, jacked, like black dudes, Afro-American, whatever, like dark-skinned dudes. And they saw me, and we started chatting up because they saw I had like good vibes, you know? Like I had skin in the game, like I was alone by the fucking bar. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Like 5'7" and you're a small, scrawny Asian, you know? But this guy, so we started talking about women and, you know, where the best bars to hit, you know? But I was very open. When I travel, you have to open up, you know? So I asked him, like, it was a fucking Tuesday, you know? It's horrible in Central Europe if you want to go out on Tuesday. Don't do it. Yeah. But I said to him, yo, what's a good bar? He said, yo, fuck this bar. It's only going to get popping at 1 a.m. Let's go to this other bar. So we go to this other place. I saw it on the map and I thought, what the fuck am I supposed to do there? It was a little bit further away from the center, you know? So we were chilling outside this place. And what was it? It was actually a Latin/salsa club, like an improv.
Nice.
And there was this dude there outside. He was friend of this guy who picked me up, you know? And he could dance like really, really good. He was good. And he was dancing with all these beautiful women, but he was very, how do you say, pushy. He tried to get them like from makeouts and shit like that. He wasn't interested in the fucking dancing anymore. But this guy who was sitting outside was like an older dude with Rastafarian hair and shit like that. Very grizzly, like very, you could see in his eyes he was weathered, you know, old school. So I just started chatting him up, and he said, see that guy over there who's trying to like play all these chicks? I taught him how to dance. And then I thought, we just started talking, and he said, I can teach you everything that I know. Then I thought, if I stayed longer there, I could like chill with this dude. I even had his phone number in my old iPhone 4S. I could like, you know, I had skin in the game. He would teach me all his fucking salsa moves. I was prepared to like go to this fucking club day and night, master salsa for 6 months, and come back a different man. You know, it's something very different. You have to be there in person. You know.
Yeah, and that's like the thing I love about like traveling to all these different places is that you get yourself in these random situations. You know, like when you wake up on a Tuesday morning, you never think, "Fuck, I'm gonna be getting taught by some like veteran salsa guy tonight." Like, but and that's what I'm saying about interacting with the world, and you get luckier. You know, like you just went out to the bar, you were chilling, you met these people, you interacted with the world, and your luck built up. Then you met this really cool person who taught you how to salsa dance. You know. And like these random things never happen when you're sitting at home. You have to go out and and interact.
Yeah, you have to have the proper mindset, go in full hard with high energy, and expect cool shit to happen, and something will happen. Trust me on that.
Yeah, for sure.
So like a little spin on this, like, so the question was, what advice would you give like a college kid? But what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself? Like with all the shit that you know now, can you give like top 5 or top 3 things that you would 100% definitely recommend to your younger 18-year-old Shaw?
Study more of like the hard skills. This is like in a business sense. Study more of like the hard skills like sales, copywriting, things like this, because I'm not a good copywriter yet. I plan to study it, but I know and I'm only starting to build up my skills in sales, but I know if I had started these things in the very beginning of my journey, I'd be way further ahead, because if you know how to sell something, like you're literally never going to go broke, you know? Like if you had like an e-commerce store, you could lose the entire store and you're like, fuck, you're at zero. You could build another store, but it's going to take a long time to build it up again. But if you know how to sell a service or sell something for someone else to get commission, you're never gonna be broke, and you can apply it to any business at all.
Yes,
that's one thing. Build up skills, build up the hard skills. Two, don't shit on college too much, because people love to shit on university, and I get it when they live in America, because it's like fucking $50,000 a year or something stupid like that. It's so expensive. I get it in America, but like the rest of the world, it's not that bad. Like in Europe, some places you can go to university for free. Some places it's like 4,000 euros a year or something like that. It's cheap as hell.
Yeah.
But the reason I say that is because it does open up a lot of opportunities. And one of the reasons I got into the entrepreneurial journey is because I went to university, discovered that what I was lining up to do wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then through my degree, I met another guy who was of the same mindset as me. Like, yeah, I don't want to fucking do this. I'd rather have my own business. And we hustled together, you know, and we built up each other's skills.
Mm-hmm.
But that never would have happened if I didn't go to university. So
yeah,
don't go to uni if you're gonna fucking study some shitty ass degree like Mayan ancient history or some crap like that. You're never gonna be able to use that in anything. Get like a STEM degree, I guess, if that's what you're good at. But yeah, and the third thing, I always get when someone asks you what's your favorite song, you can't fucking think of it.
Yeah, but
I feel like that right now.
I think like you said about being put on the spot. I was thinking more what's on the forefront of your mind, in the sense like a pain point, you know, like let's say, I'm not saying this is you, but let's say you were a druggie, you know, and you had like a fucking drug addiction. You would say to yourself, don't do drugs, you know? So maybe you have like a very, how do you say, trauma-less life then, so to say, but that's fine.
Yeah, I haven't had many like huge traumas, I guess.
What would put you? Let me rephrase it. Then. What put you like? If you'd done that system / habit / if you performed it more or started earlier, what would have put you further ahead in life where you are right now? You said already like sales, but maybe something else like.
Yes, studying these hard skills and just like implementing them more.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they try to run before they walk. and it's natural. Like we said before, it's like you have to experience these things and make these mistakes to really realize that that's, like it's like in the gym where you do like a warm-up set before you do your real set. You gotta warm up a little bit. You gotta make some mistakes for the first few years, and then once you warm up, then you're good to do the real workout. So maybe probably study I think that's it. Study like the harder evergreen skills more in depth at the very beginning, and get like a real theoretical understanding of how these core principles of, if business is your goal, the core principles of building a business work. Because it's, once you have this good foundation, everything's so much easier.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I relate with that. I think we talked about skin in the game and enter the arena. It's a very overarching theme / motive that has recurred in this conversation already. So that's fine. So we talked about good advice / good recommendations. In your field, what is like bad recommendations that you hear? You touched upon it in the written interview already, but what was it again in your forefront of the mind? What do you think people give like bad recommendations to new people, like new to the solo entrepreneur game?
I think I said maybe I said the answer to the last question in the last one. Did I say this question was like just hustle, hustle, hustle?
Yeah.
Is that one? Yeah. So I touched on it already, but yeah, it's like endless hard work, like it is only going to burn you out. You gotta, and I've really only learned this, like, and realized this a lot recently, because I was a little bit burnt out the past few months, because I was just, because like coronavirus was here, I was like, there's nothing else for me to do than just fucking work all day.
Yeah, you're not the only one, man. A lot of people had this. They had to rethink their systems,
Yeah. So probably a lot of people came out of like the lockdown like a little bit burnt out, and you realize that like life isn't like, it's not a marathon. It's not a marathon, in my opinion. It's a series of sprints. It's a series of sprints followed by like periods of rest and like regrouping, reassessing, and reflecting. And I learned this funnily enough, through one of my coaches.
Yeah.
And the way that
he says it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and the way he looks at it, and I've started to look at it more and more. You have 6-week blocks of working like crazy on a defined goal. Like you define, what is my objective for this 6-week sprint, and then after that 6 weeks, you take 2 weeks to do nothing. You don't think about business. You relax. You recuperate. You socialize. You go. You do all these things to relax and regroup. And then when you get towards the end of that 2 weeks, you start thinking, what's my objective for the next 6-week sprint?
Yeah.
And then you execute in that 6 weeks. And that's how you avoid burnout. And this really hit home to me when I was in Budapest, and I met, I mentioned earlier, the guy who does international sales. He travels around the world, and and he was working before he did that job, he was working in like a corporate role, in a similar role. And he was quite literally like international sales, like going from Europe to New York to LA to Japan to Australia to Dubai. Like literally, I think he went around the world like 4 times, like continuously, like just on flights. And he said he was chugging along for years and years at like 60, 70 miles per hour constantly. 60, 70 miles per hour constantly. And he said, now I realize that you need to be going at 100 miles an hour for a shorter period of time, and then drop down to 30, 40, relax, recuperate for a little while, and then jack up to 100 again. Because if you're going at 60, 70 the whole time, it's going to wear down the gears, and you're going to eventually just break, and you're going to have a burnout. You're going to have one of these massive like crashes, like one of these like from his point of view. What happened to him was that he fell into depression. He didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, and he had this whole like big life big period in his life where it's like this is the result of like 3-4 years of just constant grinding. He just like crashed. So like the hustle mentality, it'll get you off the ground at the start, but once you're actually going for a while, you need to reassess and realize that you need to have these strategic bursts of like 6-week sprints followed by like rest, and then it's on off. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is like a systemic approach coupled with internal motivation, also a certain feedback loop, iteration, review process recuperating, resting, and then going at it again, go back to the stables, charge straight out of the gate, go back to the stables and regroup, and like perpetually keep doing this until you hit your like big goals. It sounded tying back to what you said about Budapest, how do you say, long ago you'd wanted that, like you envisioned that and you'd reached it, but then you were like thinking, okay, what, I reached this now, so what am I gonna do next, So I think you're doing that. And I can touch upon it, like you specifically said like a 6-week block. So we touched also about how when you're on Twitter, you meet all these cool coaches and shit like that. I have a very close friend, but I owe him a lot as to my frame of mindset. I'll talk about it more in private, but he taught me to think in like quarter sprints. So that would be, a quarter has 12 weeks. He taught me to think in 12 weeks. And that's maybe like double the 6 weeks, but then you have like big room to achieve big lofty goals, he talks about. So he says, for example, like a quarter, if you go at it fucking hard in his systemic approach, you will 10x yourself or blow away your competition out of the water. People who would take a year for that, in 12 weeks, if you use his system, he claims you can, in all the facets of life, health, wealth, your skills, relationship, you can blow people out of the water in just 1 quarter, aka 12 weeks, compared to other people with just a year. And he taught me that, of course, it's logical when you chunk a year in like quarters, or like 6 weeks, then like a year has 52 weeks, you can have like, how many times? Like 7, so maybe like 8 to 9, like good sprints. And it's really, like, I think what a lot of people miss, like I was going through my old journals from the other day, and I started journaling a long time ago, but I only started journaling my thought process and also the feedback that I was given by myself, basically, by doing the action, only in 2016, 2017. And I started doing, for example, nightly reviews and shit like that. I should have started that a long, long time ago, in my opinion. But that is vital, what I hear, this recuperation, this rest, this recovery, that you're thinking, okay, this X amount of time that I went fucking hard, what did I achieve? And is it optimally for the mindset that I have, the personality, also what you're talking about? Some people, they're more, how do you say, susceptible to mental health problems, especially the overthinkers and the deeply introverted. They tend to overthink and then just stick it sometime,
Yeah, I agree. But no matter what way you chunk it up, it's always, you can't be go all the time. You need to have periods of go and periods of just rest, because otherwise you are going to burn out, and burnout is not fun. No. It's not fun.
I'm not saying this to people, don't go to therapy, but I see this always as, when you burn out, so you're doing X amount of hard fucking work, like grinding, hustle. You enter a state of, like, let's call it burnout. Then you have to, quote unquote, go to therapy. And you've basically put yourself in a position that when you started this, like, grind, you did not want to enter, because this block, this mental block, puts you out of the race, out of commission. If you'd actually thought ahead, no, I don't want to, like, stop. You think, I'm going to go fucking hard, then I'm going to rest, then I'm going to slowly build up again. And then you actually be further ahead, because you're taking yourself out of the fucking game. So that's interesting to see that, that something that was taught to me was taught to you as well, and we're trying to implement it. I think it's very like a force multiplier, like for newcomers. I don't know, I haven't heard it a lot, only from seasoned veterans like your coach or the guy who taught me this. It's something that's missed in this hustle, Gary Vaynerchuk. Only he is possible, like, to grind like 24 hours a day. It's not possible. You're only human. You're not a fucking machine,
Yeah, it is one of the things that's not really, it's because it's not sexy. It's not like you can't write a good tweet about it. You can't write you can't get a soundbite out of it. But it's, whenever you listen to, like, the bigger guys and some of the more niche coaches, that, because the biggest coaches that you see, the biggest, like, gurus you see on the internet, they cater to beginners. because they're the ones that they can scoop up easy, and they give beginner advice to these people. And these people might say, like Gary Vee, even though he is a fucking extremely successful guy, his audience is like beginner entrepreneurs for the most part. So he says, you hustle, work, because that's what they resonate with. But whenever you look at like these more niche coaches who aren't as famous, aren't as mainstream as this is the advice that they have. And these are the coaching programs or the masterminds you got to pay more money to get into. And when you're in these circles, they tell you the legit advice. You know, you need to be working in these blocks, these sprints.
So we talked about a little bit about resting, and I think this is like a good part. Like when you're resting, I have like how do you say, my full-on periods where I go harder, but also periods where I rest. But in these times of like repose, people always, how do you say, swarm up to you with their plans. Not these days because of COVID, but I have these quote unquote normie friends who like to just chill, you know, especially during the COVID area. Like I had a friend of mine, I had to decline him because he just liked to get shit faced. Like I even had like a bruise. I think I have still the scar of that. We drank bottles of wine or some shit. But this is a nice segue into like, how do you say no? You know, for you, what do you think, Shaw? Like, how did you get better at saying no in these last couple of 5 years? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I spoke about it in the interview about I've been getting better at saying no to boozing, like and heavy boozing, like partying and shit like that, and a little bit easier over COVID because you can't really go out and really heavy booze. If you're heavy boozing in your home by yourself, it's kind of it's like, some other problems maybe there, but but in general, when you have like a goal, how do I explain it? So whenever you start to take your like self-improvement more seriously, you kind of start treating yourself better, you know?
Yes.
Like when you have these bigger visions for yourself, these bigger goals for yourself, you start to be kinder to your body, you know? You start to like exercise more, eat better, and you start to kick all the unhealthy habits. So I used to booze like often, like maybe like maybe like 3 or 4 times a week. For some people it's not like often, maybe it is a lot, I don't know, but it would be like I get hit up by friends, hey, let's hit this bar, let's hit this club, it's a few pints would turn into like a lot of shots and drinks and whatever. I'd get drunk, you know, you'd party, whatever, and then the next day you wake up past midday, pounding headache, so dehydrated, and that entire day is basically wasted. But when you have no goal and you have no vision, that's okay, because you've got nothing to be doing anyway. You're just chilling. You're just wasting away.
Yeah.
But when you have, you're just because like, so what if I ruin the day? Like I'm not doing anything anyway. So, but when you have a goal, when you have maybe a business to run, or if you want to get in a certain shape, or you want to whatever, losing a day or two of feeling good is usually not worth it. And if you're doing it multiple times a week, you're racking up the days. So if you do it twice a week, say, there's 2 to 4 days per week that you've totally fucked up, times up by 52, and then you fucked it up. Then it's like, it's huge. You fucked up like half your year.
Yeah, 100.
So then like when you look at it like that, it's like, okay, so I could be getting where I want to be much faster if I just stopped getting fucked up. And don't get me wrong, I actually think the occasional bender is actually good for people because it lets you blow off steam. Like, let me just forget about all this other shit for a while. Let me just meet up with some friends and get fucked up. Like, that'll be fun for like once in a while. You know, it's important to do that. But if it's part of like your weekly routine, you should probably reevaluate what you're doing.
Yeah. So what I'm here, like the reason I zoomed in on this is, so I read your answer on this question specifically, and I spotted the way you phrased that if you have like, even if you have 2 sessions a week, you put yourself out of commission for the recuperation of 2 to 3 days. And for me, when I read that, it resonates heavily with me because I'm known to be a heavy boozer. And if I like booze even once, I have to recuperate. And as I'm getting older, I'm quite immortal, so to say. I recuperate fast, you know, like I have a legend in Thailand. I was on a bender for 7 days straight, even got in the ring, got punched in the face. I slept before I entered the arena, like over a course of 7 days, less than 60 hours or something. A normal human being would rack up 60 hours of sleep in 3 days, 3 times 8, 4 times 8 or something like that. But it was over the course of like 7 days, I only slept 4 hours a day or something. That happens when I travel, but it puts you out of commission. I was on a vacation, but can you imagine that when you have a grander vision? That was the second thing I heard, most people just coast through their life. They don't have a goal. Then it's fine, But I really resonated with people. Have to be careful with that shit. I think I was reading my old journals, and I think people don't have a big enough goal, like,
yeah.
For example, we have like a common friend. He's like a fitness coach. I saw a tweet of him the other day. He said he hadn't drank alcohol for 4 to 5 years. I don't know if he'd had like problems with it, but he's a fitness coach. I think for him as a fitness coach, it's so important for him to show a good example for his clients and to himself to live that lifestyle. He's in fucking splendid shape. It would take me a lot of time and effort to get into that shape. And there's a lot of respect that he didn't touch the fucking sauce for like 4 to 5 years.
Yeah. And what was I gonna say? I had a really good point in my head and it slipped away from me. It was right there, and then I started thinking about that guy's body, bro, and I totally
That was bad.
No, but when you have like shit to do, this boozing it just takes away from it massively, and it's really it's a trap that a lot of people get into very easily, especially when they're in uni. They feel like, oh, that's what it was. Yeah. So a lot of people feel like they need to drink to be a kind of person, to be social or get pussy. So if someone goes in a social setting, maybe a few times a week, they feel like, oh, I can't get as much out of this situation that I would want to unless I'm drunk. So then they need a drink to release their inhibitions and maybe talk to that girl, fuck a chick or make some friends or whatever. But when you practice being in these situations without alcohol, then the necessity to actually drink more goes way down, because you don't need to have alcohol to have a good time. And I've actually heard Ed Latimore talk about this too. He's like, you don't need booze to have a good time at all. Like, some people think they need to because that's how they train themselves. Like, when they went out to have a good time, they happened to be drinking at the same time. So over the years, they've trained themselves. If I don't drink, I can't have a good time. If I don't drink, I can't become the person that I want to be to have a good time. Whereas it's within, like, you're the same person, you just have some sauce in you that makes you maybe feel more confident. And I guarantee it's mostly placebo. Yeah. You can just get in a good mood before you leave your house with some good tunes, good music, good company, and you can leave. You can have the same good night, crazy night if you want, maybe more successful without getting totally shit-faced.
Yeah, 100. I think like 3 things that I want to mention in regards to that. Like, Ed Latimore, he's like a sobriety dude, so he has to have his shit on lock, So he understands the ramifications of mastering your sobriety, so to say. And I can relate 100 with that, because I have an example of a friend. I used to know him. Like, we went to the shed. He had like a shed behind the back of his house, and we drank hard. We drank straight vodka. That was our thing. He'd like to mix it up with juice or something, but I'm like a whiskey neat person as well. It was culminated or like cultivated by drinking straight vodka. But for him, for me, I have other demons, like straight boozing is a different game. But for him specifically, catered to this, he literally always said, yo, Fury, man, I have to get some liquor in me. Like, I have to do X before I get to talk to this girl. And what you're doing then, you're setting up a framework, or you're programming yourself to set yourself up for failure, because you're never going to get like a very cool chick if you see her, let's say, at the fucking gym or supermarket. Like, seriously, are you going to get like your longtime partner in a fucking club while you're fucking wasted or some shit? No, I guarantee you 100 not. And what you're doing, you're setting yourself up for failure. And this dude, even though he has like multiple girlfriends, countless lays, whatever, he still has his own, in my opinion, problems that he had at the beginning. He hasn't done the feedback loops with like how did I get better, blah blah, because he didn't understand the shit that he was doing at the beginning is still there even after all these fucking years. Not saying I'm better, but I recognize it, like, hey, I went like without the sauce for like months on end, just went solo like to a bar or something, like just chilled there, had a coffee, no sauce, and just trying to have a good time. Okay, now I have a cope, like the cigars and shit like that, so that's a different game. But touching on like a neurological aspect, what you're saying, like to get in a proper state, like listen to some good tunes, that's a whole nother headspace. Like you have to do what they call state shift. Let's say you came out of work and you're in a grind mode. You can't talk to another person. Then you have to unwind a little bit, and then put on some tunes. They shift from work state to being social Shaw, social fury. Yeah. And then it doesn't matter if you booze. The booze happens to be there, of course, like you said. Yeah. But yeah, you're also gonna, like, I remember days in Thailand when the sun was high and I didn't even drink. I was in fucking good moods, man. I was just there by the pool. It's because of the environment, though. It's sunny, it's like exotic and shit. I was like, hey man, what are you doing? Blah blah. So it's definitely something a lot of like young kids fuck up because they don't have vision. They also have like anxiety programming, and it's something 100% that needs to be talked about, especially like from a heavy boozer like me and like the Irish dudes.
You can do a thing. It's called anchoring, where you can anchor a certain state to a stimulus, a positive stimulus. It might just be music or something, or wearing certain clothes or saying a certain phrase. I know Jordan Belfort in his book, The Way of the Wolf, he talks about this. He anchored when he was in sales, he anchored his state to smelling this. It was called like a boomstick or something, but it was like a pungent, like melon smelling stick.
Okay.
Like or whatever, you smell it, clears your nose. When anytime he got a win, like he closed a deal or whatever, he would smell this, he would clap his hands, and then he would go, woo! He would like shout woo, like really loud.
Yeah.
And that would get him into the state. So he would do that whenever he had a win. And then whenever he needed to so that would anchor that routine onto the feeling of the win.
Yes.
So whenever he needed to feel that way, as if he got a win, he would sniff the stick, tap the thing, and say the words. And then his brain goes, let's anchor into that state. Yeah. But you can do the same thing with like a song. If you ever feel good, like naturally play a certain song, anchor that feeling to like a positive song, or, wear something cool, like a nice watch or a nice whatever, like anchor it to that, because you can switch on like a positive mindset just by anchoring yourself to like different things, and then you don't have to booze to get in a good mood. Then you can do it just by fucking clapping your hands.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, for example, like what you just talked about, like it's logical to use a smell because the olfactory system in your brain has the thinnest barrier from external stimulus straight to your memory. So the state that you want to achieve is right there to be reached via the nose because of this compound. Like there's just one barrier, I don't know what the name is, like the mucus membrane right here.
Yeah.
As soon as it goes in your nose, it touches this mucus. There's a nerve there. It signals straight to the brain instantly, and then you get in its state. Like this is a good hack for people to use smell to get into a sleepy state, to get into an energetic state, in a salesy winning state, anything really. I used to do this as well. In Thailand, we had these sniffers. I fucking lost them. I don't know where they are. I'm gonna order them again. But in Thailand, I had these vapor rub sniffers that was very popular there. I was in the Thailand state, like a winning state. And when I got back from Thailand, every time I was feeling a little bit down, you saw me sniffing this thing. It instantly transported me back to the pool, back to the beach. And it's the same thing. And yeah, even now, like this shirt I wore in Thailand, I have memories tied to that. It's very powerful. I think a lot of people, it's a lot to be hacked, a lot to be hacked. So that's pretty cool.
Biohacking or whatever. It is an interesting thing you can get into, but it's also like a rabbit hole you can get lost in, because at the end of the day, there's only so many little tricks and hacks you can do, but you just got to fucking do it,
Yeah. I think what you talk about, like fucking do it, is about there's this man. His name is Josh Waitzkin. He's like he's a top performer coach to the elites. He's a friend of Tim Ferriss. Like he does biohacking as well. And Josh Waitzkin calls it, what does he call it? Like tightening the circle. So these like little things that you do take a lot of time, because you want to do A, B, C, D, A, F, G, and then you get into the stage, right? It takes a long fucking time. But if you get better at it, it goes like this. Like Jordan Belfort, he perfected it, right? So close the seal, sniff, did. It's like he mastered it. And so he mastered this habit. So when he wants to do it again, he repeats the process and it becomes very habitual, like a reflex.
Yeah.
And you have to practice this thing. Then actually you can fucking let's do it. For me, I have a lot of things as well. I have a specific song as well in my Spotify playlist. If I press play on that, I know I'm gonna hit PRs in the gym. I think it's a lot of doing and experimenting for people, but it's really cool to get into the rabbit hole, get some information, get some insights, and then fucking do it. And then
Yep. It's definitely a good weapon to have.
100. So we reached the final question. This is a perfect segue. Like we were talking about state shifting, anchoring, priming, and basically detaching as well. So a lot of like solopreneurs, top performers, but also like newcomers, they get overwhelmed, And for you, Shaw, when you like get bogged down, like what do you do? Do you have a specific process or ritual when you get overwhelmed? What's that like for you?
You just detach, just forget about everything. Just like drop, like if you're stressed about your business, like, and you're literally so overwhelmed, you can't think about anything else. Just put it on pause, take a step back. It's like you're saying about the 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or 12 weeks on, 2 weeks off, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have periods of like resetting, like a hard reset. And sometimes you might be totally stressed out about like the path that you're on yourself, and that might take even longer to figure out. But sometimes if you're totally overwhelmed, you gotta drop what you're doing. You gotta relax. You gotta rest. You gotta socialize with friends. You gotta just blow off the steam. Just totally de-stress. Maybe take a trip or something, but forget about the area that's making you stressed and go and do some like reflection. And and you can sort of, and once you do that, the physical like feeling of stress, like kind of, it leaves your body, leaves your mind, and you can think clearer then, because stress is physical. It's not just in your head. It's literally a physical effect on your body and brain. Like it restricts your ability to think properly.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get rid of that physical feeling, you feel more relaxed, like physically, then you can start regrouping, reassessing, figure out why the shit made you feel stressed. Like go through all the whys and the hows and the whens or whatever, and figure out why this shit happened in the first place, and then put in measures to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I jokingly said at the end of the interview, if you can't think of any of these things, just maybe pop some LSD and you'll figure it out. It'll show you what to do. But it's these periods of like resting and reflecting. If you feel totally overwhelmed, that's definitely what you need to do for sure.
Yeah, that the reason like why I saved this one for last is because a lot of like people are dabbling in biohacking and nootropics and supplements and stuff like that. And very hip these days is psilocybin, the working compound in LSD, the thing you talked about. Drop some acid, for a lot of people, they're scared to, enter this sphere and use these things because they're afraid what the effect is. But you've told me in private that you've recently, like, if I can disclose it, that you recently touched upon this compound. Like, can you share a little bit to the audience for like people who've never done this shit? Like, what was that experience like for you?
So parts of it are kind of indescribable because like you actually can't describe it. It's just like a feeling you get, and it kind of, from what I've seen, it affects people differently. Like I spoke to a guy like who did it a few days ago or like last week, and he was just like, I had a great time. It was awesome. It was like, I just felt great the whole time. And I was like, okay. Because in my experience, mine was like 50% good and 50% terrible.
Okay.
Because it kind of, it shows you what you need to improve. We'll put it like that. It exposes to you like maybe areas in your life you're lacking, and makes you feel almost embarrassed that you've neglected them. and then you gotta come out of it with that realization that you gotta fix it. Like a friend told me, is like, once it's all like, on the tail end of like the experience, you gotta write everything down. I wrote like 6 or 7 pages of everything, or else you'll forget it. And then I read it again the next morning, and I was like, okay, like this is what I need to fix. And for me personally, my diet was getting worse, and my workout routine was less consistent, and I was embarrassed at myself that I hadn't kept those up. So now I'm back on eating better, eating 0 fucking sugar. My diet is much cleaner, and I'm exercising, and I'm doing hard workouts now, because when I was working out before, you get in this like habit of just going through the motions and like consistently do it. But this time, like now I'm doing these blasts. Like I'm actually doing uncomfortable workouts that are actually like physically stressful. I'm getting back into this like routine. And I realized that you need to be, and some like Greek philosopher said this, I don't know who it was, and I don't know how he said it, but you got to be the athlete and the scholar.
Yeah, the famous Socrates or Plato. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't be all about, physicality and have no brains, and you can't be all about the brains and have no physicality. You got to have both. Yeah. And I was lacking on my athlete side, and I've had to bring that back up again. So that was one thing that was getting me stressed out a lot, actually, because it was a lack of discipline. But I'm getting back on that track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like what I found very interesting is that like using this supplement, so to say, it was like a gateway to facing yourself,
Yeah.
But you said like it was 50% bad. Like, did you feel like anxious when you faced your quote unquote demon? Because for most people, I can imagine like they shove this under the rug, 50 years, they fucking die not facing themselves. But for you, it triggered like a wave, like this explosion of self-confrontation. Like, are you like a changed man now, a different Shaw in a mind?
I don't know if I'm a changed man, but it definitely showed me what I need to fix. What I need to get back to what I was doing before. Because it dropped off, and it's probably to do with like the lockdown or whatever, like the totally mess up routine or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does feel uncomfortable because, like I said, it makes you like feel embarrassed. Like it's as if there's like something in your head that's like pointing and laughing at you for like letting go of that, letting go of like your discipline or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I was experiencing. And and then you come out and you're like, right, fuck, I've got work to do. I've got improvements to make. And then the other half of it was fucking great because I had a buddy who was like, trip sitting me, like he was just chilling doing some work, and he was just like in the room or whatever. And at one point he was just like, maybe you'd feel good if you went like took a shower, took a shower, put on some nice music. So I played the music that anchors me to a positive state. I played that. I got in the fucking shower and I was feeling really good, feeling really, really, really good. Yeah. It was epic. It was awesome. And then that was the end of it. And then I was totally fine. And then I was in a great mood for the next, couple days.
That's a fucking cool experience, man. Like for me, like I haven't done it, but a lot of people like what you just described now. It's like almost like shamanistically, like a shamanistic vibe. You're on this pilgrim quest, like this like potion, and then you go inside your soul and you come up with these like insights. You come back to reality, almost like what they say, enlightened, It's like a mini enlightenment. Like if you want to like market this in a cool name, like mini enlightenment, like you come up with these glimpses, like what you need to do really,
Yeah, I think I had that experience because my friend he basically primed me. He was just like, so it's going to be a learning experience. Like you're going to find something that you're going to want to improve. And I think my brain started searching for that the whole time, and that's why I had an experience like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas maybe some other people, they just have a totally positive experience because they were never primed before going into it that that's what it's like.
Yeah.
So who knows? The brain works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. I think from a creative point of view, you become in a very associative state coupled with divergency, meaning you're very loose, very malleable. And these thoughts and these emotions, which you can quote unquote access on a daily basis through deep meditation. You know, if you just meditate every morning, which what I do, but you access all these like sifting things. You know, you sift through all these thoughts and shit like that, and yeah, then you go on this spiritual quest, and it becomes very learning. You know, like I had a friend of mine. He is not very, how do you say, aware of himself, but he did this thing in Bali, I think, or something like that, and he's never gonna do it again because he was scared. He said he saw like shit flying in the air, and he had a very bad trip. Let's say like 80% bad. He just saw these demons and shit. He wasn't ready. I'm not saying he will never be ready. Maybe he'll be ready one day, but I think it depends indeed how you prime yourself to go in this like journey, man. It's interesting to hear.
I wouldn't do it again for a long time. Not for a long time, I don't think. I know some guys that have done it like 10, 15 times, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like how can you do that many times? Like, I don't know, but yeah, for me it was kind of taxing. You know, it was very taxing. So I wouldn't do it for a long ass time again.
That's cool to hear, man. Like, I have another friend who did it as well. So I think he primed me as well for he saw the world in archetypes. So from a Jungian psychology point of view, he said he saw me, for example, as the sage, and like he saw his other friends as these archetypes and shit like that. And for him, it was, I think, he didn't mention any negative experiences, but he said it was 100% positive because he's a positive dude. So yeah, I don't know. It's very cool to hear because they're doing PTSD trials with this thing, you know, and giving them to like ex-soldiers and shit like that to cure people, you know, cure people of these like stresses and shit. And from like for peak performers like us, like my coach / friend, I think he did it as well, and they do it like with microdosing. Like Wiz, he does it with microdosing as well, to like to get that extra edge, you know, like as if we're on Wall Street, like take modafinil and that. Yeah, I think the
microdosing, I don't think you feel like any like tripping effect. You literally just feel like more like receptive. Like I heard some guy just say, yeah, everything just seems brighter. Like the colors are more intense.
Yes.
And you feel more positive, like in a very like low key, natural way. It doesn't feel like you've taken anything. It just feel more natural. But my problem with that is that relying on like an external stimulus to
you're dependent.
Yeah, and that's why you might have seen I wear glasses, and I need them for reading further away, but in my day-to-day life I don't need them, right? And the reason why, and I could wear them all the time and I'd have perfect vision, but I don't like the fact that I'm dependent on them to operate, and I'm not at that stage yet. But if I did wear them all the time, then my eyes get weaker, and then I am dependent on them. So if I don't wear them, so if I don't wear them for most of the day, then my eyes deteriorate slower, and I don't feel like I'm dependent on these fucking pieces of plastic. I'm not dependent on an external like source to help me operate.
Yeah, I like that. Like the the train all mindset, train everything mindset that we talked about. But so we've reached the end. So like I don't have any questions anymore, so we're done with like the template. But like I think like what's really cool to quote unquote wrap it up is like, do you have any like closing thoughts, like that you've like had new insights in this conversation yourself, or via me, or coupled with it? And I don't know, what do you want to leave the audience with? Like, you can say anything you want.
Yeah, start creating something. Just start creating something and meeting other people who have the same mindset of they want to create something, and then come together like me and Fury here doing, and just like have conversation with people who are the same as you, because they're hard to find in quote unquote real life. You can find them in like money Twitter or whatever, but once you find people like that, make sure that like you can develop that relationship with people, because it's hard to find people who are on the same wavelength.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like thanks for coming on, man. It was a blast. Like,
really appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
It was strange, how do you say, because like people asking me this shit for years, but I think something in your energy, like Yeah, it was like the catalyst, or the way you said it, like with the cigars and shit like that. It was fun to do. It came perfectly together, you know. I had time, you had time, you know. I think also because of the fucking lockdown, you know. What am I gonna do on the fucking, like, everything's closed? Let me talk with Brother Shaw for the first time. Like, this is a premiere for the people. This is the first time that I talk to you, you know. So it's fresh, you know. All these things, yeah.
So now you can reach out to all the other Twitter people and have more podcasts and more conversations. You can make it like a consistent thing. I'm excited for it. Like, it's going to be a cool recurring Twitter podcast thing. You know?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So for the audience, like, thank you for tuning in. Like, we're gonna stop recording now. Like, thanks for subscribing, like your support, all your love, all the anything. Like, thanks for listening to Shaw, and I hope you get value of this. And I don't have anything to add that I haven't said before. I will say it a million times over for people who need motivation and shit like that. You know, you can always reach out to me and Shaw, and yeah, try to. I think from my point of view, that I want to leave you with, like, I don't know, like, when I was younger, I can say this, like, I was talking a lot about this on the timeline as well. When I was younger, even 3 years ago, I called myself younger. I was on the bridge of Prague, the tourist bridge. I was like high on life. I had been partying, drinking, and the sun was shining in my fucking face. And I had this vision, you know, that I wanted to build this tribe. And I would never imagine 3 years later that I would meet somebody like Shaw. You know, I'd never envisioned that. You know, so I think you have to self-actualize, and yeah, make your life like a beautiful art piece. You know, if you can't fucking paint, just make your life beautiful, that when you're dying, that you think, yeah, I created my magnum opus. And that's what I want to leave you guys with. So hua.
Well,